1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Welcome to the Maggie and Perloff Show. Maggie is off today. Personal reason, location, undisclosed to Manny, of course, as usual, when Maggie goes away. But EJ Stewart sitting in the big chair. And EJ, I feel bad for you.
Why's that?
Because you are going to have to take the Maggie role where I crush you with my Jordan is better than LeBron takes all throughout the next 4 hours, because that's, in my mind, basically what this comes down to.
Well, I agree that Jordan is better than LeBron, but I don't know. Well, how does that relate to particularly this news that LeBron James is opting into his contract for one more year at about $50 million with this big caveat, though, this carrot of, but Rich Paul saying, we need to see that the Lakers are committed to building a champion within LeBron's very short window, even though they keep talking about this build for the future and how that it basically kind of like goes against both options.
Right. So the headline yesterday: LeBron opts into his $52.6 million player option. So everyone's initial reaction was, "Oh, okay, LeBron is going to stay in LA, no drama." But then his agent, as you mentioned, Rich Paul, says, and I quote, LeBron wants to compete for a championship. This is an article via Shams on ESPN. He knows the Lakers are building for the future. He understands that, but he values a realistic chance of winning it all. We are very appreciative of the partnership we've had for 8 years with Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka, and consider the Lakers a critical part of his career. A lot of sort of past tense of that statement right there, meaning typical LeBron, that he might want to look around for a better chance to win a title.
Yeah, very much it's not you, it's me.
Yeah, but there's so many funny parts to this. I'm sorry that it's hysterical, because let's just start a few weeks ago when LeBron James is sitting there with Steve Nash on his own podcast saying that ring culture is ridiculous and people are judged way too much for championships. Now he says, I want to leave this team because I want to win a championship. So that's ridiculous to start with. It's clear ring chasing. There's no doubt about it. That's why I think Jordan is always going to be better, because he never ring chased. He went to Washington Wizards. He always thought, I'm good enough to win the ring on my own.
It was silly on his part, by the way.
Regardless. So LeBron is ring chasing. He's opting in to his $52.6 million player option. So that's going to help the Lakers win a title how?
Well, it's not going to help the Lakers win the title. And look, there is a lot of trying to have your cake and eat it too, right? He wants all the money and to play into a great team and play in Los Angeles. And that's just not going to be possible for him. I do understand that. But this idea that LeBron is somehow this bad guy or this, guy who's contradicting himself because he is looking to win a championship in the twilight of his career when he talked about ring culture, that I don't buy. Because LeBron is a victim of the circumstance. He didn't create ring culture. He isn't the guy that said, hey, championships are all that matter. It is us. It is the people who talk about the game. It's the people who rank these guys. And LeBron has made it very clear he wants to be considered the greatest of all time. And he feels the way the game's being discussed, the only way to do that is to win championships. So, yes, he's playing by our rules. We can't blame him for that. That's on us.
It's ridiculous. So he wants to manipulate the argument on his podcast. Why does he just go out there and prove he's the best? Why does he have to jump into the argument with the media? That's not his job. He's a player. He shouldn't have anything to do with the discussion about his legacy. That's from outside. He has to completely take his hands off this. It's one of the most ridiculous things ever that he is trying to kind of massage this debate so he comes out on top. Now, also, I will give you, it was ridiculous that Michael Jordan had the last dance when he got scared that LeBron was catching up to him.
Right.
So this is something Jordan has done too. But this isn't LeBron's job. LeBron should not worry about legacy. He should just take it a year at a time. Why should he not worry about
legacy? Of course he's got to worry about legacy.
He should,
that's the only reason he's still playing.
He should, okay, he can worry about it, but he doesn't have to go on podcasts and make arguments for himself.
Well, first of all,
that's for the pundits, not for him.
I do feel like we've jumped to this conclusion that he keeps making this thing about himself. When we've played the clips.
You just said that.
No, I'm saying we played the clips here on the show. And when he talked about it, he was talking about all these other guys. He was talking about Allen Iverson. He named all these players.
Oh, come on. LeBron didn't care about any of them. He was talking about himself.
Did he not name those people? He did. Yeah. And it wasn't until the end he's like, it's funny that, this conversation always seems to revolve around me. And yes, he did get to that to the end, but that whole conversation that he had on the shop or whatever, when that was the Mind the Game podcast about this situation in the ring culture was about other players and why guys who don't have rings or guys who only have one aren't seen as great as other guys who have multiple rings.
Yeah, I understand what he was saying.
Right. So, but then why? So just like every conversation, it becomes LeBron Jordan. Like, no, LeBron wasn't making it LeBron Jordan.
Oh, okay.
He never did. He was making it about other players.
Why would we believe? But you start out by saying LeBron is trying to manipulate the discussion about his legacy.
No,
so there he wasn't. He usually does that, but in that context where he is 2 rings short of Michael Jordan, that wasn't about LeBron.
No, we could play back what I said earlier in the show. What I said was that he is a victim to ring culture. And he is explaining ring culture, but that doesn't mean that because he is a victim to it that he can't also try to do the best to put himself in a position where we do look at him as one of the greatest. Because all we hear is rings, is how many rings you have and how many rings you don't. People have been killing Tracy McGrady for weeks because he dared to say that he could maybe win one ring with Shaquille O'Neal as opposed to Kobe winning 3, and people are going crazy because they're looking at the fact that Tracy McGrady didn't win. So LeBron is in a situation where he sees the dialogue. We all understand the dialogue. We all value rings more than anything else. So for him, he's saying, if this is the world that I'm living, I don't live in an alternate reality where people don't care about rings. If this is where I'm going to live, then all right, I got to find a way to get at least 1 more, maybe 2 more, and it's not going to be in LA. So that's why I think for him, he's considering what are the other options.
Okay, so all right, I'm going crazy here. It did seem to me like on his podcast, he was saying ring culture is overrated, and I thought he was referencing himself mainly. That's just because maybe I'm making some inference there.
That's what we do with LeBron James is we always jump to how do we find a way to make this about him and Jordan, when, again, that conversation started mostly about other players. He made one sentence about himself, and he said, this thing, it's funny how people judge me in this same light. That was the only sentence he made, and then everyone jumped to conclusions about it, and they missed the entire point about him talking about Allen Iverson, talking about
I understand.
all those other guys.
Manny, you're sitting in EJ's chair today. Did EJ imply that LeBron is trying to change the conversation about the number of championships he has and his impact on his legacy, or am I crazy?
I think you're going bananas.
So this LeBron has not been trying to change the conversation about championships because of his own legacy. Okay, fine. But he does want to win another championship so he can catch up with Jordan. So which is it? Are rings overrated? If they're not overrated, then why is LeBron so desperate to glom on to a good team and try and get another title?
Because I think in his eyes, like I said earlier, he feels like the only way to be viewed as the greatest of all time is to come closer or to tie or to surpass Michael Jordan when it comes to championships.
Okay, so it is about the ring culture.
With this move, yeah.
Okay, so he's acknowledging that rings are the thing.
Well, to us, yes, to us.
Okay.
If he's playing by our rules, if you just said that he's worried about legacy, and that is the big thing, and that he shouldn't be concerned about it, he is. But if he is, if that's the case, he knows that he can't control anything, because he can say that, hey, I think ring culture is overrated, and you and I and other people are going to go and say that that's nonsense. So what he has to do is then he has to play by our rules, and what he thinks our rules are is get rings no matter what. That's the part where maybe you and I agree, where I think, hey, listen, getting rings simply by jumping onto a great bandwagon is not necessarily going to help you in the Michael Jordan conversation, but this is the only option he has at this point. He's not going to be in a position where he's going to try to rebuild a team and play for 5-6 years. He doesn't have any more time.
I mean, the dude is 40, so You're right. He doesn't have a lot of options. But the reality is, in my mind, even if he went to a team and won a title right now, it's not really going to change the LeBron-Jordan debate. I mean, that debate's over. To me, I do legacy debates based on the peak of an athlete, not what they do in their waning years. You have to judge a 28-year-old Jordan versus a 28-year-old LeBron when LeBron was winning in Miami, which was awesome, and when Jordan was at his peak. Whether he gloms onto what, well, you give me that. Like winning a title this year, unless he's ridiculous and scores 30 points a game, is not going to really change the debate.
Well, the problem I have with the whole GOAT conversation is I just feel like people are locked into camps that won't matter, right?
Yeah.
So
because he's 40, his career's basically over.
Right, but you could say in theory that, yes, it should not matter in theory that if he jumps onto a team and he's a second option or whatever, that he wins a title. But you know what the narrative in the spin is going to be? Well, he went to a team in his 40s and won a title. How many guys did that? Let's say if he goes to a team, we're not going to name teams yet, but if he goes to a team that hasn't won a title in a while, or a team that has never won a championship, and he delivers a championship to a new city, then it's going to be, well, he delivered a championship to a team that hasn't seen one in 40, 50 years.
Right.
And just like he talked about, winning in Cleveland meant that it was equaling 2 rings, not 3. Again, not things I agree with, but these are things that he say, and these are things that his fans say. And there are a lot of people out there, whether we like it or not, that absolutely believe he is the GOAT, and they will believe that if he can win a championship at 40 years old, 40-plus years old, whatever he is right now, and he can contribute in a major way, they're definitely going to be like, well, Jordan didn't do that. Well, this is what we do with we do this on the flip side. We're going to say Jordan, LeBron never won 6 straight, and then we're going to say, well, Jordan never won a championship in his 40s. So he has a path. He has a path.
Who cares?
What do you mean who cares? We're talking about the greatest players.
In this debate, first of all, is he going to be the second best? I can think of a situation where he would be the second best player behind a great all-time player and possibly win a ring. It's called the LA Lakers, where he's the second best player behind Luka Doncic. That's another ridiculous thing about this statement. He says, I know the Lakers are building for the future. You have Luka Doncic. You got gifted Luka Doncic at the trade deadline right before the Super Bowl. It was a Saturday night. Do you remember this story?
Yeah,
it dropped out of nowhere. Like, you're already the B player on a team. I don't get it. I mean, he'll probably have to be the third option if he can't. If second option behind Luka's not good enough, where is he going to be the second option and win? Like, there's not that many players better than Luka.
Well, this is where you and I think will agree a lot, is because I think LeBron is a man outside of time, right? This is a 40-year-old guy playing in a young man's game, and he thinks this is the super team era, where he's going to be on a team where just grabbing 2-3 stars means that you're going to be win a title. And he's playing with Luka Doncic, and he just saw his team get beat in 5 games. He's like, what the hell happened? I guess I got to find another super team. The problem is, LeBron, there is no super team out there, and no one's trying to build a super team. It's impossible with the salary cap implications. So that part I agree with. I don't know where he thinks he can go or why he doesn't understand that perhaps just staying in LA will be the best thing for him. But I do feel like he's looking at the situation and realizing the Lakers are not a real title contender. It's a fact.
Well, I think he is in Nico Harrison's camp a little bit. The Mavs GM who thinks Luka-style play is not exactly how you win a title.
Now you're getting to something interesting.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we all know it. Luka Harden is a righty Eastern European James Harden. Like, the ball is going to be in his hands. The defense knows where the ball is. Come playoff time, eventually they're going to figure that out. I don't think LeBron thinks he's a championship-winning player, so I got to get somewhere that complements my skills better.
I think it's the opposite. And now I can fight Maggie a little bit, even though she's not here, because Maggie this whole time kept saying, oh, LeBron absolutely knew Luka Doncic was coming.
Oh, yeah.
And LeBron was definitely a part of the situation. Yeah. This quote and all this stuff happening means that there is no chance LeBron knew this was happening. And I'll go further. There's no way in hell he wanted Luka Doncic on this
I'll
team.
go further. Rich Paul had no idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rich Paul, first of all, I think Rich Paul might be driving this because he's mad at Rob Pelinka for sneakily trading his client, Anthony Davis. Yeah, you're right. That whole Anthony Davis, I totally agree. Like, we might have to call Maggie in on this one just to dunk on her, because it seems like that the Lakers did this without the LeBron camp having any idea in February.
Because I think if the LeBron camp really wanted to put themselves in a situation where AD was going to get traded and they could still compete for a title, they wouldn't want a player as similar to LeBron James
Yes.
as Luka Doncic. You wanted them to either take that salary, make it into 3 or 4 different good players, and maybe spread it out, or get a star who's more complimentary.
Right.
Instead, the Lakers did what I thought they were doing in the past, which was they traded for LeBron's replacement.
No, you're right. Okay. So we have a lot to figure out in the show. We have 4 hours to find a new home for LeBron. This is going to be a tough assignment. Assuming, I mean, who knows? He could definitely end up staying with the Lakers. That is well within play, probably the most likely scenario. But there's certainly this whole quote from Rich Paul opens up the whole conversation. Free agency starts tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern. I'm not sure why that time, but that's when really the fireworks could begin around the NBA. We'll see how much movement there actually is. But this is all about LeBron today. Where can he go to win a title? We want to hear from you. 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4476. Do you have a new home for LeBron where he can get that elusive 5th ring? And what does it mean for his legacy? I don't think EJ and I are ever going to see eye to eye on this. We want to hear from you. We also have some NFL today. It's not all about LeBron. And then we have a baseball headline that I'm excited about as a Phillies fan, because I think it is going to be the key to unlocking the National League for other contenders besides the LA Dodgers. We'll get into that and a lot more right here, Maggie and Perloff Show.
And I want my damn respect, too.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie at Perloff Show. Maggie is out today. EJ Stewart is in, which means there's going to be some arguing about basketball in particular. We just don't see the sport eye to eye. I'm old school. I grew up on 90s basketball. It was all about the championship. There was no discussion about anything else. EJ, that, by the way, an unfair characteristic because you're about championships, but you're a Knicks fan, so you don't really know what that's like.
Oh, my God.
All right, that was all right.
Serious?
All right, man. What? Spot the lie.
You see one championship in 50 years, and that makes you better than me?
You mean the,
Like, what are you talking about?
the faux
Yeah, exactly.
Malone team?
Sixers stink, buddy.
Oh, okay. I'd rather be the Sixers. At least I know we stink. You guys are fooling yourselves into thinking you're a contender.
I want whatever you're having.
Dude, what? Oh, you
What's
got
in that
the
cup? Is
Eastern,
there Patron in that cup?
620 Pearl.
You got to the Eastern Conference Finals, and that's like celebrating. That's like winning the Summer League, getting the Eastern Conference
right.
Finals. It's so
All right.
easy. It's ridiculous.
Hyperbolic Monday.
Oh, come on. Everybody thinks this way except for you Knicks fans, which brings us to LeBron, who is all about chasing rings, of course. Now we know it's official because he opts in with the Lakers, but then his agent tells ESPN, we appreciate the Lakers, but we might want to look for greener pastures. And if you want to win a championship, what's the first move that you have to do in today's NBA?
You got to build to the draft, and you got to.
You got to get to the East because the East sucks, and there's no doubt about it. And LeBron, Andrew Perloff said this 2 months ago. I'm like, LeBron is eyeing the Eastern Conference, and he will try to get there because there's no doubt.
You were right about that.
The West is ridiculous. It's insane the amount of talent that is in the West right now. Now, they all get injured, and it does become a little easier to get to the finals. But LeBron does want to get to the East. So we are trying to figure out if LeBron can convince the Lakers to trade him to another team, where do you think it will be, EJ Stewart? Give me some. You don't have to.
Right,
you don't have to pick one.
Yeah.
You can weight it if you want.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think it will be my New York Knicks, which is one of the teams being mentioned.
Right.
I don't think it will be the Cavs because I think what the Cavs would have to do to make that work would just be too punitive and it wouldn't make much sense. You'd have to give up too many valuable pieces to make the salaries match. So I don't think that's happening either. The one team I'm going to throw out there that I don't think is likely, but I do think if the Lakers really are not worried about winning a championship in the next 1 or 2 years, they're building for the future, that they should consider, is probably the Warriors. Now, this becomes a situation where before, when the Lakers were talking about making a trade with the Warriors, it was Rich Paul who came in and said, nope, LeBron's not going there. We're not doing that. I wonder if things have changed. No, they played during the Olympics, him and Steph Curry. So we know there's maybe a better relationship than maybe there was a couple of years ago. I think we've seen for a while that LeBron definitely has wanted to play with Steph Curry. I think he thought maybe it was Steph Curry coming to his team, but things have changed, as they say. And now I think maybe he's the guy looking for a certain new team. And I do wonder if you're the Lakers, look, Jonathan Kuminga is a free agent. The Lakers do have the salary cap situation where they can accept a sign and trade. maybe you put together some pieces from the Warriors and say, we'll take Kuminga, who's a young player, potential defensive player. He's kind of a guy that needs to learn how to play defense, but he's a great athlete. We can get a potential two-way guy, a young guy who fits Luka's timeline. We get some of these maybe other ancillary pieces. Maybe we get an Austin Reeves as well. And then we build with that, and we'll give you LeBron James. And the Warriors, now you got your 1 year window of trying to win a championship with Jimmy Butler, LeBron James, and Steph Curry. You see how that goes.
It's interesting. I mean, you're still in the West.
That's the only thing. But to LeBron, like, you're not going. I don't think you're going to the East. Like, he's gonna try, but the Knicks, I don't think want him, and the Cavs may want him. But I think once you do the math of who they have to give up, I don't think it makes any sense.
Well, I think the Knicks want him for nothing. I mean, they would take him. When you say they don't want him, they don't want to give up real assets. Or
Everybody's gonna have to trade for him. So and the reality is, you have to match the salaries. Like, I love in this game, I go on X. And everybody just like, oh, we just give up Deuce McBride for LeBron James, or the Cavs. We can give up, just Jared Allen. Like, no, that's not how this works. You have to fit salaries together. So the guy's making $52 million this year. You got to find $52 million going back to another team. I don't think that the Cavs are in a position to give up the pieces needed to potentially get to that point. And I think if you're the Knicks, it's the same thing. Are you going to give up Karl-Anthony Towns in a 1-for-1? And say, all right, now we have no center.
That feels rich. Yeah.
And then, or are you going to give up multiple pieces, Bridges, Hart, and OG Anunoby to make it happen? These of those things make sense to me.
But the other thing, though, is, and the way I think the Cavs look at it, Bridges, for example, like, you could look at that as partly a salary dump. And you guys love OG more than anything in the world, but I am going to borrow a tweet from Kevin O'Connor, who covers the NBA for Yahoo. He says, LeBron to the Cavs would require getting under the second apron for the Cavs, which means losing Jared Allen, Darius Garland, and a third guy. It's a lot to give up for a guy who may not put you over the top. Then again, Allen is folded in the playoffs, and Garland is a tiny guard. Could trading them be a low-key salary dump for Cleveland? And I think the Knicks are looking. I think a lot of teams in the East are like, ooh, okay, we need to match the salaries. Would the Lakers take back guys that we are unhappy with their contracts anyway? So that's where I'm really, really nervous as a Lakers fan. Am I going to take in some bad contracts to get LeBron where he wants to go? Because I think listen, free agency starts tonight, and we're already seeing bad contracts flying left and right. Feels like the most valuable thing in the NBA is to get out of your contracts. So I do think there's some teams in the East who are going to be like, well, we have some expensive players we would like to give to the Lakers. And we'll even take LeBron, even if we don't think we can win a title.
See, I totally disagree. I think the Lakers are actually sitting pretty here. If LeBron's in a situation and the Cavs are in a situation where they're saying we'll give up multiple young pieces,
overpaid pieces.
I don't think they're overpaid. I don't think that Jared Allen's overpaid. I think we look at these contracts and we think that, oh, this guy's overpaid. It's like, all right, well, if the guy that you like or is comparable to him became a free agent tomorrow, he'd probably be making the same money. So if you don't like Darius Garland, sorry. If I found another all-star point guard that became a free agent tomorrow, he'd be making the same money. If I found another all-star center and they became a free agent, they'd be making the same money. So you're going to
why can the Cavs can barely win a playoff series with those players? Explain that.
Well, this year, most of their guys got hurt. It's just a fact. And people want to pretend like that didn't happen when it came to the Pacers beating them in the playoffs. But when you don't have the defensive player of the year in Evan Mobley, and you don't have your all-star point guard, you're going to lose games to a very good team. And that's just a reality of the situation. I'm not a big Cavs fan, and I think maybe there's something wrong with that locker room per se. But I do think if you're the Lakers, you're going to be getting multiple all-star caliber pieces back. Now you're in a situation where, okay, maybe we don't win a championship next year, but now we're younger, and now we have multiple different contracts where we can maneuver this thing and jigsaw puzzle this thing. So maybe some of these guys go other places, and then we build our championship around Luka Doncic. I think that if the Lakers, the Cavs want to call you, I'm picking up the phone immediately and saying, what do you have, and we're open for business.
I don't agree. I think Darius Garland is too short. He's 6'1". Also, he's out for most of the big chunk of the season.
That's going to be a problem.
He just had surgery. So, toe surgery. All right, let's go to Corey in Dallas. Corey's got an idea for where LeBron should go, and this would be high comedy. All right, Corey, where do you think LeBron should go next?
Hey, what's up, guys? I just wanted to say, like, if LeBron really wanted to win another championship, man, why would he opt into that contract? And I was just going to say, if he didn't opt in, he could have came down to Dallas and took the minimum, and then back with Kyrie and AD. What a better team around him.
Wow. And so Ed Cooper flag. What do you? That would be
exactly. You got PJ, you got Lively, you got Gafford, you got a whole team. But I feel like he done made over $1 billion in his career. Like, why would you? If you really wanted to win, why would you opt into that $52 million? Make it hard, making it hard for yourself.
That's a great question.
to win again.
Well, it's such a great question, Corey. And I love doing a new dream team in Dallas. Sounds amazing. Thanks for the call. EJ, what do you think of Dallas as a fit for LeBron if he had not opted in? Because obviously at $52.5 million, I don't think the Mavs are seriously in play from a financial standpoint.
No, there's almost no way the Mavs can make a trade for LeBron James. So he would have needed to opt out. And like Corey said, take the minimum. I don't live in a fantasy world. I don't live in a Star Wars land or Marvel land where things are fantasy, where LeBron's going to take the minimum salary.
Marvel fan.
Well, I like to watch. I consume.
Okay.
I don't live. I consume the content. I don't.
Manny,
live
did
there.
you cut that for a drop?
I don't.
I like to watch.
Yeah, I like to watch. I like to watch. I'm a consumer. I don't live in those worlds. So the world where LeBron takes the minimum salary is not a non-starter. And I know we could say, well, he's made all this money. Well, he needs a lot more because we know LeBron's ultimate goal is to own an NBA team.
Oh, geez.
And yes, it may sound funny where you say, what's the difference between $50 million and $1 million when you need to buy an NBA team? We just saw the Lakers go for $10 billion.
Yeah, that's a great question.
You need all the millions possible to be in that position where you're going to have multiple people, multiple owners, multiple buyers once the league expands, which I think is going to happen. You're going to need all the money you can get. So LeBron is not in any position right now to be taking pay cuts. He needs as much income as possible.
Get out of here. That $50 million is going to have no impact on his ability to buy the Las Vegas NBA franchise, and you know it.
No, that's absolutely not true because Shaq's going to want that team. He's already talked about it. There are plenty of people who are trying to get that Las Vegas team or get that Seattle team. This is going to be a free-for-all when it comes to buyers for these expansion teams that come up. So LeBron's he's not in a position to just take $50 million pay cuts.
Take $30 million.
Well, $30 million, he's still not going to the Mavs. My point is for him to get to these quote-unquote championship destinations via free agency, it would take him taking the mid-level exception for $12 million or the taxpayer mid-level exception for $5 million. These are non-starters.
How did you get him to Golden State in the last segment?
It was a trade. It was a trade. It was sign and trade so it was a sign and trade. So you sign Jonathan Kuminga to the max. And then you'd add other salaries to that. Maybe you add Podziemski, or some pieces like that to get to your $50 million to make that trade.
By the way, I like Jonathan Kuminga. I know
you're
Jonathan.
a big fan.
I mean, I think sometimes he plays like a knucklehead, but man, he's got upside. All right. By the way, one more thing about the Lakers. One of my favorite Lakers things is these ideas that you're going to trade Rui Hachimura for a superstar. They're like, well, let's trade Rui for Andrew Wiggins. Let's trade Rui Hachimura for, I don't know, like, do they know that Rui Hachimura is not good? Is anybody aware of that? Except for Lakers fans have these fantasy trades to build around LeBron, and it ain't happening.
But can you blame them? They just got Luka Doncic for nothing. They just got Pau Gasol for nothing. Like, this is the history of the Lakers, that they can just fall right into our lap. They were able to draft James Worthy with the top pick in the draft. If I was a Laker fan, I'd be delusional too. I can't even blame them anymore.
That's a Maggie thing too. Like, the Lakers have superstars just drop from the sky and land on their roster. So maybe that'll happen. Doesn't seem like LeBron wants to stay there. Let's go to Andrew Bogusch with headlines. And by the way, I have a car story for you guys later in the show that I need Bogusch to weigh in, and I'm going to save it.
An update.
It is an update. I have a major problem with my new car.
Oh, no.
I was going to say there's more bad takes from Maggie that he's upset about.
Maybe. But it's not like a problem, but there's a new sense of anxiety with this new car that I am not enjoying at all. I'll get into that later in the show. Because
who doesn't love anxiety?
Yeah. Oh, this is cue up the song Anxiety for me discussing my new car later. All right, Bogues, a lot going on in the sports world. What do you got?
Yeah, here are your headlines, sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance, protecting small businesses with affordable coverage options. Get a quote today at progressivecommercial.com. There is no uncertainty on the other side of L.A. right now. James Harden inking a 2-year extension with the Clippers worth $81.5 million.
I'm sorry, I thought you said no uncertainty.
Harden first declined a $36 million option for the coming season. He's getting a raise after earning third-team All-NBA honors. The Rockets are giving Jabari Smith a 5-year, $122 million rookie extension. Bobby Portis re-signs with the Bucks, 3 years and $44 million. The Blazers said to be finalizing a buyout with center DeAndre Ayton. They had been trying to trade him. Ayton was due to make $36 million for the coming season. And then we have Pistons guard Malik Beasley under federal investigation because of suspicious bets that popped up in January 2023 when Beasley was playing for the Bucks. His lawyer says, quote, an investigation is not a charge.
That is correct. Thank you.
Factual.
Yeah. Although my Twitter feed is a charge because I saw, I mean, believe me, Malik Beasley's not, we'll get into that later, but oh boy, this looks really, really bad because he looked like he was dogging it at times. And
it's like blue chips. Everything's like blue chips. And they're watching Jimmy shave points and they're like slowly like, I can't believe it.
He was my guy.
He was my guy.
That was my guy.
yeah, well, how come no one who was covering me ever was shaving points? He made it so easy.
They didn't need to.
I know, right? Yeah. Just be in the same area code.
No, they
Job
really
done.
needed to, where they were guarding me. Like, you really have to put an effort to let me score on you. That's my point.
It's always the under.
Yeah. Right.
Betting
No,
totals,
the under
betting
was
totals in the Philadelphia suburb high school basketball league.
No, they did not.
1-800 I got a number for you guys. It's 1-800-GAMBLER.
Yeah. No, there's no under 0. You can't get under. When the line said it's 0, which same number of minutes and points.
I was
in
going
my
to say,
high
that was my
school
line. They said my line at minutes, and it was like 2. It was like, depends on this game's a blowout.
Yeah. No, you don't listen to Maggie and Perloff show to listen to former superstar athletes talking about sports.
No.
I've heard that.
Yes. I would call us journeymen at best. Wait, you don't even get up to journeyman?
That's a compliment.
Wow.
What were you as an athlete, Bogusch?
I mean, in basketball.
Not Garrett Temple.
No, basketball, I was a bench warmer. I mean, people chanted for me and my friend Kenny to get in the game when the score was out of control.
Andrew.
We want Andrew. We want Kenny. That's when you knew the game was over.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I was at the end of the bench practicing cheers with the cheerleading squad next to me. Shoot it like the Army does. Shoot it, sink it like the Navy. I can't even remember them anymore. But
That's pretty good. You don't remember more than I would.
Do it like the Army does. Shoot it.
All I
Do it
remember
like the
was-
Navy does. Sink it.
Sink.
You guys have never.
Tick, 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 boom, dynamite. Boom, boom, dynamite.
Yeah.
Tick, 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 boom. That's what I remember from my
Yeah.
cheerleading squad.
I mean, people really don't respect bench warmers enough. We have a lot to do.
Exactly.
A lot.
I could have been on that college team where the bench warmers do the theatrics after every basket. Was that Monmouth?
I would have been so good at being the last guy on the bench doing a 3-point celebration. I would have killed
Well,
it.
let's see some right now.
I'm too old now.
Oh, come
No
on.
grenades. No grenades.
Oh, yeah. All right.
No weapons.
Do it for social media.
All right, get us away from our own athletic careers, folks, and tell us about much better athletes.
Yeah, none of us, including professional athletes, could have hit Tarek Skubal last night.
6 for his last 9 now with runners in scoring position.
He's good.
Nope, that's
Skubal into
wrong.
his motion. The 2-2. Got him! 100 on his final pitch.
That's Dan Dickerson eventually on Tigers Radio.
Stay high, Bogey.
Skubal 13 Ks. That's why I didn't play.
Look alive,
Over
baby.
7 one-hit innings. The most strikeouts and fewest hits in one start in Tigers history. Detroit won the game 3-0 over Minnesota. On the other end of the pitching spectrum are the Mets.
6 for his last 9 now with runners in scoring position. Cruz belts one to right and deep and gone. A line drive home run for Cruz. Like it was shot out of a cannon. Cruz with his 14th home run just like that. 4-0 Pirates.
4-0 in the first inning, a 12-1 Pittsburgh win for a 3-game sweep. The Mets outscored 30-4 over the weekend.
Is that bad?
The
Not
worst
good.
run differential in a 3-game series in their history.
That's insane because the Mets at one point lost the most games ever in a season.
But it was always close.
But I can't
A
believe
lot
it.
of one-run losses, apparently.
I'm going to have to do this again because I did it strongly last year. Mets fans overreact so much early in the season. But I was sitting here last year. Pete Bellotti Jr., I think, was on the show still.
He was the senior.
Yes. Is he a senior?
No, he's junior.
Yes, as opposed
He's a hardcore Mets fan. He's like, the season is over in May. I'm like, the MLB season is a marathon. And I love seeing the panic, but come on. There are 4 more major swings of up and down coming. This means nothing big picture.
Pete might have been wrong last year, but the season's over now.
yes.
Yeah.
They're
Already
in the
ju-
playoffs if the
already
season
jumping
ended
off
today.
ship.
Why do baseball fans panic so much and read too much into one game? It's not just Mets fans. It's everybody.
Well, Spencer Strider apparently said that no one can have loser energy and be in first place like the Mets. So there is.
That sounds
that.
fair.
Yeah.
And you're a Mets fan saying
Yeah,
that.
and I'm a loser.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been saying that for a couple of months now.
That's a drop.
All right. Bogusch, thank you very much. We got to get into this Malik Beasley story. I think, EJ, this could change the entire NBA, and it could be the gambling story that sort of opens up the dam to make everyone realize, we might have a problem. We'll get in that next. Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
All right, back on Maggie and Perloff show. EJ is sitting in for Maggie, who is taking some well-deserved time off. Man, there is a messy story that came out over the weekend. Pistons guard MALIK BEASLEY is facing allegations of gambling related to NBA games and prop bets, specifically from 23-24 when he was with the Bucks. And apparently there was some unusual betting activity. This looks really bad. I mean, listen, we don't want to, there are allegations right now, but to me, a couple things about this. It feels like sports, not just basketball, but all sports have been careening towards a gambling crisis where you're going to see a player in a major sport who is, let's say, fixing games. I don't know if you call it fixing games when it's prop bet related,
Sure.
but it felt like this was coming. I mean, we've had minor ones. I can't remember. What was the guy up in Toronto's name?
Jonte Porter.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to
Jonte Porter. And we've obviously had a lot of NFL players who've made bets that have gotten them suspended. Most famously, Calvin Ridley missed an entire season. But we really haven't had a straight fix with a player we've known. EJ, what was your read on this story?
It was terrible. I mean,
Yeah.
and it was tough is when you go on social media, again, social media is not the judge, jury, and executioner, but you see these clips of MALIK BEASLEY apparently trying to make covers in games that are obviously over. There's one crazy clip when he's with the Timberwolves where he gets the ball with like 5 seconds left and races up the court to get a layup that cut a lead from 9 to 7, and the T-Wolves ended up covering. I mean, it's very disturbing videos.
I like the one where he's faking like he's playing defense, like he's pretending to play defense, and he's also basically telling the guy who he's covering to go right and go right past him.
Oh, yeah.
He's a terrible actor. That's the other problem.
It's not a good look. Now, the one thing I will say with Beasley and with Jonte Porter, I think is a through line is these are guys that weren't making a lot of money, right? Like Beasley, when he was on the Bucks, was only making $2 million. He was on a short term there. Now, the T-Wolves, he was making $15 million a year, so that one's a little hard to explain. But this year, Bucks $2 million. 2 years ago, Bucks $2 million. Last year, Pistons $6 million. Jonte Porter was on a league minimum deal. So I don't know if money in terms of guys being on the lower end of NBA salaries is going to be where they're going to be most threatened by. I don't know if that means you got to give these guys more money. Do they have to raise the minimum? Like, that seems like these guys already make a lot of money. I don't know if people are going to have an appetite to hear the league minimum raising to $5 or $6 million to get these guys to stop doing this. But that is a concern. The one thing I will say, this story, even though it came out, and it's very disturbing, I'm looking at the response to it. It feels very much unserious. Like, I don't know. Like, I want to call it a crisis, but I don't know if the fans are taking it seriously that way. So I don't know if I can leap to that far. I don't know what it will take for fans to make this a bigger issue or a bigger story than the way it's not being perceived right now.
Well, I think there may be a couple reasons for that. MALIK BEASLEY is not a household name. He's more of a journeyman. He's a good player. I also, too, I think if it was NFL, I think it would be bigger. If it was an NFL wide receiver and we knew their name, I think that would be bigger because I think a lot more money is bet on the NFL, believe it or not, because a lot is bet on the NBA too. So I think that's a couple reasons. But back to Beasley, by the way, you're right. He hasn't gotten paid yet. But the amazing thing is, I guess he was up to get paid right now. Let's hear from ESPN's ShamsCharania, who explained the contract situation for MALIK BEASLEY, which now might not be happening.
I am told, though, that Beasley and the Pistons were in serious talks on finalizing a 3-year, $42 million contract that would have brought Beasley back to Detroit. But now those talks are on pause. Talks around the league, likely on pause for MALIK BEASLey as well.
Wow, that is a bummer for MALIK BEASLEY if he has not gotten paid yet, as you described, and he's about to get $42 million. Now, the interesting thing about Beasley, I had no idea that he was a character guy. I guess he served a prison sentence for a felony charge for threats of violence and spent 120 days in jail in 2020, and then he got suspended by the NBA. I mean, he's a guy who sort of floated under the radar until sort of last year, he kind of made a name for himself, EJ.
Yeah, he was awesome for the Pistons last year.
Yeah.
He was up for, sixth man of the year potentially. He was one of the best shooters in the NBA. Malik Beasley has been kind of like you said, a little bit of a wild card. He's been a guy who's talked a lot in the media. He talked a lot during that Knicks series. And the one thing that is frustrating for me as a fan, and which is why I wish people would take it more seriously, is now everything that happens with this guy, I'm thinking about 10 times over. And the big thing, if you guys remember, I know it was way back a long time ago. It felt like it was ages ago, galaxies ago. But the first round of the NBA playoffs, can we go all the way back there?
Yep.
We go to the last game of that series against the New York Knicks, a very competitive, intense series where Beasley, by the way, was very up and down, had some very weird games throughout that entire series. And I go back to that final play, which I don't know if you remember, is he gets wide open, completely wide open, and just drops the ball, and the ball goes into the first row, and they lose. And look, it's basketball.
Yeah.
Things happen. This guy was talking the most trash. I don't think it would behoove him to be the loser that hurt them in a series in that way, considering all the trash he was talking during the series. But now everything that involved Malik Beasley during this season, I'm thinking about, and to me, that was the biggest moment of his season.
Yeah, but
was he had an opportunity to potentially win a game for the Pistons that would have extended the series, and he just dropped the ball.
Get
out of
here, Detroit.
But wait. What's the actual plausible bet where, I mean, what do you have, the money line on?
Money line on Knicks?
I mean, he screwed around a lot then to get that game so close. If he had the money line on Knicks, would he let it get to that situation? Somebody else could have taken it. But did somebody else have an opportunity to shoot on that possession? So
the play was for him. He got wide open.
I don't know. It feels like that's a pretty okay. I'm going to make this bet and bring it down to the last second. Like, I don't think that he could have controlled to the point where he needed that shot to not go in.
But you may be true. But don't you guys see though that now everything comes into question though, and that's what I don't like.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I see that.
But to me, like, I don't know if that's the case. Like, to me, he probably did just drop the ball. But to me, it was such a bizarre play. I was like, wow, he dropped the ball wide open, and he could have won the game. And this is how his season ends. And then he's the guy we're talking about when it comes to gambling allegations. I've heard the allegation.
Well, it's interesting
not good.
too. If you actually make it league wide and you start to have doubt about a lot of games. And it's not just because if Malik Beasley's doing it, I think a lot of people are going to assume, well, there's probably other guys who are dropping games on purpose. I'm not even saying this, but I wonder, like, oh my God. The other thing, sometimes teams just mail it in. Like the Thunder, and it was a game 6. I'm like, what, has Jalen Williams completely forgotten how to play basketball? This is pathetic. But I think that's also the NBA tends to load manage even within series. Like if you're losing, there are stars that will save energy and call it quits in a game, and it just looks bad. Remember the T-Wolves beat T-Wolves beat the Thunder by 50 in a game?
Oh yeah, 40 points. Yeah.
Yeah. So game 3. You have a league where load management is a huge deal, and I don't know. Sometimes you won't even notice. If a guy's throwing a game, because teams put out such minimal efforts at times.
And that's fine. But again, I go back to what I said earlier is when are fans going to really make this an issue? I don't think they will. Again, because I've seen the response to this, and it's mostly jokes. It's mostly ha-ha. It's mostly look at this. Idiot.
Interesting.
But there isn't this idea that, we're somehow in a crisis, even though now this is the second NBA player that has been accused or is involved in an investigation related to gambling. I mean, this is obviously a red flag. I think part of the issue is we're a country that's addicted to gambling. I think that's our real idea, is that there are people who are in on this same game. They're not obviously in on fixing games, but they're betting on games. And I think they're in a position where they'd rather betting be open and allowed and fine than it not be, so that we can avoid this kind of stuff. Like to me, that when you're of a country it's like a country that's, addicted to anything. Like we're not going to, bat an eye at a beer commercial or something for a weed dispenser or anything like that when we're the ones consuming it. So I think they look at this and say, he got caught. What an idiot. All right, let me go back to my parlay for tonight. I think that really is the thought process for a lot of fans.
Well,
I have no sympathy for men.
Same, Maggie.
I do think, though, that gambling allegations can bring down a sport, because I saw boxing when I was a little kid was the top of the sports pyramid. And I don't know if people there was a couple things that happened. There was allegations that people were not giving it all in fights. And then I think the fact that they split up all the world titles kind of screwed up the sport as well. But I don't think NBA is headed that direction. The big sport is football. Now, the problem with football is there's a lot of guys. To actually manipulate the spread, you might be able to do an individual prop. But as we saw in this story, props are really easy to track. Like if all of a sudden, gosh, I'm not even going to say a player because I don't want to connect him to gambling. If all of a sudden the number one receiver on the Jacksonville Jaguars dropped 6 passes in a game and there was tons of money on his prop bet, how hard is it going to be for them in the world of legal gambling to figure it out? They'll figure it out in 2 seconds. So I think football is a really, really hard sport to affect because maybe Malik Beasley had the whole game come down to that last 3-point attempt, but there's nothing a football player can do to actually manipulate the outcome of a game except the quarterback. And even that is not easy.
Yeah, and I guess in theory, maybe like a pass rusher, if he had a sacks prop, maybe if he's given kind of BS effort, maybe that's a guy that you could say.
Yeah, but they would see the money coming in.
Yeah.
It'd be unusual. So what's the point of throwing a game unless it's for big money? If, gosh, the top, we don't want to name players.
Right, yeah.
But if a guy who normally is a big threat to get a sack doesn't touch the quarterback and there's millions and millions of dollars, I think Vegas would see that in 2 seconds.
Is there anything you would do to try to first of all, we have a position where we have to do something about this, and 2, what do you do?
The fines and the penalties have to be ridiculous.
Aren't they already ridiculous? Don't you get banned?
Well, the NBA, I know about the NFL. I know that they suspended Calvin Ridley for a year, and they're on it on the NFL. What did they do with Jonte Porter? I don't even remember in the NBA.
Banned for life.
Yeah, he's banned for life.
Yeah.
So,
if there's any truth to this, you got to ban Malik Beasley for life. I mean, if he cost himself $42 million, as Shams said, he's already feeling the heat. I mean, he seems like a particular kind of idiot, to be totally honest.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about the guys that get linked to stuff, when I saw his name come up, I said, well, it was just like, it wasn't that surprising, unfortunately. I hope it's not true, but it wasn't that surprising.
All right, coming up, maybe my least favorite player in the NBA signs a massive deal and I got an issue. Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Back on the Maggie and Perloff show. Maggie is not in today. She's taking a hard-earned vacation. She's telling me she's out of cell phone range for you guys. She'll take my call, especially Manny. She does not want to hear from Manny. That was not said specifically. It was implied. She famously does not tell Manny where she's going on vacation and then claims that it's not on purpose. We've seen that act before.
We have seen it. It's understandable, though.
Yeah, I get it. I don't want Manny harassing me with his drunken texts at 3 a.m. about the Knicks.
Did you see what Jalen Brunson did this weekend?
Yeah, no, it's not good. Actually, no, I'm kidding. Manny is incredibly entertaining on text. He had stepped out so we could make fun of him. We have a group show text thread, and we all kind of are always waiting for a funny Manny text, especially Bogusch. He's like, all right, Manny, you're out drinking. Give us something good. And usually he delivers. Okay.
I do deliver. I do deliver on my drunk promises.
This weekend, though, we were too obsessed with some NBA deals that I am going to say were, how do I put this? Rich. There were, free agency starts tonight, but we already saw yesterday LeBron opted in for $52.5 million and then through his agent said, I'm open to a trade. So there was that. But the other deal that I was wondering about was James Harden did not opt into his contract with the Clippers. Instead, signed a new deal worth $81.5 million with, I think, an option for a third year, player option with a little bit less money. So the Clippers are committed to James Harden. This might be his last significant contract in the NBA. And I got to tell you, if you want proof that money cannot buy a title, look at Steve Ballmer, the owner of the Clippers, and this team, because there is no way this is happening. We all know it. And that's because, not because of Kawhi Leonard, who's fantastic, but because of James Harden. James Harden wasn't winning a title in his prime. He's definitely not winning his title from 35 to 37. I do not understand why the Clippers, who are, for some reason, EJ, considered a smart team, are continuing to commit to this guy. They're not going to win with him.
Well, the other option is you let him walk for nothing.
Sure.
All right, well, now you're a much worse team. You have an older Kawhi Leonard who has bad knees. How are you winning a championship there?
You got to, in a way, you got to rebuild.
Right, but I'm fine with rebuilding if that's the case. But to me, I think it's easy to say just rebuild, but we don't know how painful that can be. I think Sixers fans can tell you, or Knicks fans can tell you, how painful a rebuild can be. Sometimes a rebuild can be indefinite, where you're rebuilding, it feels like, for 10, 15 years. And that's what the Clippers could be staring now, and have they decided to, tear it down. They saw themselves as a team that could have advanced past the first round. We can blame James Harden. Sure, he didn't play well in Game 7, but they were right there with the Denver Nuggets. And they're saying, hey, listen, we were right there. James Harden had another really good year for us. And the one thing I will say is when we think about these numbers, unfortunately, because the salaries have ballooned so much, we go crazy when we hear a number. So you hear $81 million for 2 years. Everybody's like, oh, my God, how is James Harden? That would make James Harden basically like the 30th most highest paid player in the NBA.
Right.
Which is what he is. He's about 30 when you rank the guys in the NBA. He's not, a top 5 or top 3 high paid guy. He's towards the bottom. It's a shorter term deal. And the Clippers really don't have other options. And he's not a guy that people are going to be lining up to trade for. So I don't see what the big deal is with signing him to a 2-year deal. And he probably retires a Clipper and then you move on after that.
So he should be about 75th to 100th in players in my mind, because in fact I think 130.
You realize Scotty Barnes is making $38 million. You realize Michael Porter is making $38 million. Brandon Ingram.
Do you realize that James Harden is 35 and is going to clog up your team to the point where you're going to make everybody around you worse? That's my issue with James Harden.
Worse. He's made Zubac better. He's made Powell better. There are guys on that team that had their best seasons of their careers playing with James Harden.
I feel like I'm one of the best teammates that the NBA has seen.
I go back to pick up basketball. I play in the same run for years on Saturday morning, and there's an incredibly talented player on the other team. I won't say his name. It's Matt, by the way.
I say, is it me?
No, it's Matt.
Not me, my niece.
And he's really, really good. But when he hits his first jumper, it's like, yes, we are definitely winning this game because he's going to take his own team out of it. When it comes to Game 7 in the NBA playoffs, the other team knows that James Harden dribbles too much and is going to take his team out of it. Doc Rivers, my guy, Doc Rivers, always said after he had Harden, he's like, well, the defense always knew where the ball was. It's not hard to plan against James Harden, and that's not changing as he gets older. He's a great player. He's a Hall of Famer. I'll give you that. But just the way he plays has not fit in with championship-style basketball. And I know he's gotten relatively close, but he's just not a championship/winning player, and I'm going to always stick with that.
But at the end of the day, you're not asking him to be your number one, right? You're asking him
to
be.
So who's your one?
Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is the highest paid player. He's the best player on the team, and they're hoping that when he's healthy, he's their number one. And in fact, when Kawhi was hurt, James Harden still wasn't their number one. Norman Powell was leading them in scoring. So they have other guys.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you see the Clippers as having any chance of winning a title in the next 5 years?
Any chance is harsh. I would say a very minimal shot.
So what's the deal with all that Steve Ballmer money? What's it doing?
Well, it's a salary cap, so there's only so much you can do, right? There's only so much you can spend, and the guys aren't going to free agency anymore, so it's not like you can, just, hey, we're going to just cut our salary to the bone and then wait for the big free agent to happen. That doesn't happen anymore. The only way to get a star player is a trade at this point. And to me, to be honest, having that kind of salary with James Harden is going to make it easier to make a trade potentially. Because if a guy does become available, like a Giannis or anybody, you're going to need some salary to fill to make the trade work. Or you may need salaries that team may not want in order to make a trade work. So sometimes letting a guy walk isn't the answer. Sometimes it's keeping the asset that you have and hopes that maybe a guy does come available, and then maybe Harden could be used in that way. There's multiple ways to skin a cat, as they say.
People in Milwaukee are really nice, but they would riot if they traded Giannis Antetokounmpo for James Harden. If they took a James Harden on a Giannis deal, that is not
The reality is that's for the Bucks.
No,
they're going to be taking some salary they're not going to like. That's just how the NBA works now.
Oh my God!
There's no trade for a star player where the team isn't taking back a salary that is questionable.
I mean, honestly, the best way to get a transcendent star is to have a lot of luck with a lottery ball, ping pong ball.
The draft, absolutely.
And then the draft is now ridiculous because the Mavs had a 1.2 chance percent. That's all messed up.
But that's what I'm saying.
Too.
That's what you want the Clippers to do. That you want them to say, all right, let's tank, and then maybe, but then we'll end up like the Brooklyn Nets potentially, and then have the 8th pick, or end up like the Washington Wizards and be the 6th pick. Like
they're in the worst.
That's not a position you want to be in, especially when you just launched a new arena that you're trying to fill. That is one of the better new arenas in the NBA. You can't go out there and say, okay, we're going to put a crap product out there and make you come to our new arena where we'll probably charge you out of the wazoo to pay for it.
See, ultimately, I was a supporter of what's called the process in Philly, where they completely tanked for years on end to try and build a champion.
That worked
because
out.
I'd much rather have at least a possibility of building a champion than permanent limbo, which seems like where the Clippers are. Talking first round, second round of the playoffs, maybe next year. I mean, Kawhi and James Harden are getting old, so even I think it's almost unthinkable of them making a run in the West now.
But see, this is where I use Perloff's logic against himself.
Okay.
Because what does Perloff say every time we come to the show talking about the NBA? It's so random. You can never predict who's going to win a title. You can never predict who's going to go to the finals.
Yeah, but you can predict who's not going to win a title.
You always do that. Like, he always says that, right? So if you're a team in the NBA and you're building a team, you can't sit here and suggest that, oh, well, if we're a team that's in the mix and we've been in the mix for a while, why can't we be the Miami Heat that were 8th seed or the Indiana Pacers or –
because you're not as smart as those front offices. Yeah, I mean, like, Miami's got a brilliant front office and a brilliant coach.
But in their minds, they're not going to – first of all, the Clippers have a brilliant coach because Ty Lue's a very good coach. And number two –
well, yeah, but I'm really talking more about the front office has not been consistently excellent.
I mean, we say the front office has not been excellent. I mean, they got Norman Powell for nothing, and he was great. They got Zubac for nothing.
This must be the Knicks fan in you who wants to have a parade down Broadway for a first round playoff victory. Like, you understand the point is to win a title, and you understand they're not getting anywhere closer.
I understand that, but you're deflecting from the point, which is that the Clippers have made extremely good moves to keep themselves relevant.
They're not relevant. There's nothing relevant about. They're completely irrelevant.
We're talking about James Harden at the top of this show because he just signed with the Clippers.
Yes, in my mind, a bad move.
But at the end of the day, again, your option was to let him walk. So who's playing point guard next year? You're going to go back to now being a 40-win team, a 35-win team? What does that get you? Kawhi Leonard is not going anywhere. Well, they made their bed when they signed Kawhi long-term. If they wanted to rebuild, really, they should have done it a couple years ago. If you want to tell me a couple years ago.
At least Kawhi's a championship kind of player.
Right,
I mean, I build around Kawhi and take that risk over Harden.
But they are building around Kawhi. He's on the team. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like, he's an older player who's an injury-prone player. If they really wanted to do the right thing, they should have rebuilt years ago when they re-signed Paul George and they re-signed Kawhi Leonard. That was a mistake. If you want to go back to that and say that was a mistake, they should have rebuilt then fine. But at this point, you've made your bed. You can't waste the last years of Kawhi's contract and if he has any more good years left, you can't waste it tanking. That doesn't make any sense.
I have a question for you, then.
Yeah.
If they're relevant, how many teams in the NBA are relevant? Because I could think off the top of my head 10 teams are more relevant than the Clippers. Easily.
Why?
I'll give you the
West,
teams.
they're one of the top 5 most relevant teams in the West.
Thunder is more relevant, right?
Okay.
They're the champions. The Rockets are obviously more relevant.
Why the Rockets?
Because the Rockets, what are you talking about?
They just lost their first round of playoffs. They were a 2 seed, and they got bounced by the Warriors.
You think the Clippers are more relevant than the Houston Rockets with Amen Thompson and Kevin Durant?
They have Kevin Durant, who has not been in the playoffs. By the way, what did he win? Has he been in the playoffs recently?
Please put up a poll. Who is a more relevant NBA team?
Sure.
The Rockets are top 4 relevance. They are incredibly relevant.
Are you serious?
You don't think the Rockets are the team we've been talking about all offseason?
Kevin Durant literally just killed 2 franchises to the point where now we don't talk about them anymore. He just went to the Nets, and the Nets thing blew up. He went to the Suns, and the thing went so bad that they fired 2 coaches in 2 years, and they just missed the playoffs.
Do you think
why does Kevin Durant all of a sudden make the Rockets more relevant than the Clippers?
Because they have Sengun, they have Eason, they have Van Vliet still there. Like, they're incredibly interesting and relevant.
I'm hearing names that don't move the needle or wow me.
Oh my God! You think and the Clippers like you?
Norman Powell.
You honestly think the Clippers are more relevant than the Houston Rockets right now?
They have
that
a
is
2-time
unbelievable.
NBA champion who's their leader.
I read a headline the other day that the Rockets are now the biggest challenge to the Thunder. I've seen that headline everywhere. Nobody's talking about the Clippers. The Clippers are the biggest threat to go out in 6 games in the first round.
What are you talking about? The Rockets just got eliminated in the first round.
Shut up, EJ.
We keep talking about this thing as if like we're living in a fantasy world where we didn't actually see the Rockets when it was time to take the smoke. They tucked their heels and ducked in a Game 7 at home. So this is not some team we're talking about where it's like, it's a juggernaut team that has a championship pedigree. That's not the case. They traded for a 37-year-old superstar who's been injury prone, and they lost a bunch of players in that trade that were valuable to them. Dillon Brooks was a valuable player to them. Jalen Green was a guy they were building around. That didn't work out. The Rockets are a question mark.
Can I read you the
And you said 10 teams, by the way. You're on a team 2, and I'm already
Can I give you the current NBA odds to win the championship? Sure. Number 1, Oklahoma City Thunder. Guess who's number 2? The irrelevant Houston Rockets. This whole conversation is
Yeah,
ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I'm not even going to
find me the Suns odds, preseason odds coming into last season or the year before.
Honestly,
you don't want to do it because
I don't want to continue because it's so stupid to think that the Clippers are more relevant than the Rockets. That's ridiculous.
But the Rockets are the it team right now because we're talking about them because they made a trade.
Yes, that's what relevance means. The it team is relevant. The Clippers could not be more irrelevant.
I don't care about when you talk about relevance. I'm talking about relevance towards winning, relevance towards doing anything. I don't care about they made headlines, so therefore we're talking about them.
What do you define relevance as?
Relevance to me is how important are you in the quest of winning a title?
Right. So what difference do the Clippers make?
I'm saying
they're a warm up for the eventual champion.
I don't think the Rockets are some juggernaut either.
Well, why do you think they're second? So you say the odds don't mean anything?
Right. They haven't. I mean, the Pacers. What odds were the Pacers last year?
And you're smarter than the Las Vegas odds?
All right, if I would have bet the Pacers to make the finals this year, guess what? I would have been smarter than the Pacers odds. Yes, and I'm going to go back to the original. I'm going back to the original conversation. What did we say? Is that it's a random thing, right? All teams win. You can't predict who's going to win in the NBA. So now all of a sudden, Vegas does know what they're talking about.
I can, yeah.
The Suns had the 9th best preseason odds going into last season.
Right, they didn't make
the Clippers are 10th now. So. Right.
But I mean, the Clippers are in a situation where, again, I feel like you're trying to make a scenario that doesn't exist for them.
Well, I feel like the Clippers are irrelevant in the sense they have no chance of winning title. I'll be totally honest. I think I'm in the overwhelming majority of everybody. And nobody's looking at the Clippers as a threat. And everyone's talking about the West, about the Spurs are coming up, the Rockets are coming up, the Warriors are still relevant, the Thunder are defending champions. We'll see what the Lakers do. I have not heard one person say, well, let's watch out for those Clippers. It's just not a thing.
Well, listen.
The Rockets were 19th in preseason odds going into this past season. The Clippers were 20th.
Right, and they've improved. Those odds improved in part because Kawhi Leonard's been injured. And that's a big part of this, too.
Yeah.
When you talk about betting for a championship, there's also a lot of factors go in, mainly who's going to be available. And the reality is for the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard has not been available for the playoffs. He was this year, and he played pretty well when he was available. But that's a reality.
That's not reality. To think that Kawhi Leonard's going to be available anymore is fantasy.
No, I'm saying it's a reality that he's been hurt.
He's been hurt. He was always hurt before.
You're running the
That's why the Clippers are irrelevant, because they're built around James Harden and Kawhi Leonard.
But we just saw a playoffs where he was healthy. So what I'm trying to say is, if you have a Clipper team that is healthy and you're going into the postseason, I don't look at the Clippers and the Rockets if both teams are healthy and say the Rockets are 100 times better. Not even close.
I do. I mean, I'm with Vegas. I mean, because they have much better up and down players. Like they have Amen Thompson. Who's the Clippers version of that?
Wait, Amen Thompson's a good player. He's a young player. They have Norman Powell, who won't made an All-Star game. They have Sengun, who's one of the best defensive centers in the league. They have a very good team.
But no, Sengun.
Sorry. I mean Zubac. I'm sorry, Zubac, who was one of the best defensive centers in the league. He almost won Defensive Player of the Year. Like they have a very good. This idea that the Clippers,
you should be betting your house on the Clippers then, because you're alone on that island.
They just took the Nuggets to 7 games. We're acting like the Clippers were some trash team last year. That was not the case.
Well, I know, but we're talking about the NBA title. I'm serious. Like invest whatever you can in this, because I give them no chance.
I mean, what I'm hearing is that you're very high in the Rockets. Like
I'm not saying really high, but they're obviously the most relevant team of the offseason.
Are the Rockets beating the Thunder?
No, I'm not.
Are they getting past first round?
Yes. And also, too, by the way, the Rockets are way more relevant. Like, I didn't say they're winning the title, but relevant means, like, who are people talking about? And it's obviously the Rockets by far.
I think the Clippers, if they were healthy, would smoke the Rockets in the first round of a playoff series.
Can I just say, by the way, nobody says, okay, who do you like in the series? Well, I think this team is more relevant. That doesn't mean I'm saying they're going to win. That means they're relevant in the sense that everyone's talking. Well, we would have said who's better if that was a conversation. The word was relevant. And to think that the LA Clippers are more relevant right now than the Houston Rockets is just nuts.
But the thing is, I don't really, I guess relevant is, again, that's whatever. That's fine. You're talking about, I'm looking at the best teams. You're right. I don't really care about who people are talking about. I'm looking at who are the teams that can actually win. I think the Vegas odds are insane. The Rockets being that high, does not make any sense to me, to be honest. But if you're talking about better teams, again, if these teams matched up roster to roster, I don't know who you're looking at and saying that, this is by far a much better team. Like the Clippers,
the upside's way higher.
The only thing with the Clippers you can say is if they don't have health, then that's a problem. Of course.
Well, why would they have health? Their team is old.
I mean, that's a fair point. I'm not saying that that's wrong. But again, we've had a playoff series where they played a competitive series against a team that a lot of people thought was going to win the West last year in the Thunder, and they were right there. With James Harden, again, we're talking about a situation where the Clippers could go completely, and that's where this conversation went, was I said they can go into complete irrelevance and complete, kind of the other world, the NBA, where they're in limbo, and that didn't make sense for them. To me,
That's kind of where they
If you
are.
have Kawhi Leonard, you have to be in a position where you're trying to at least continue to compete for a playoff spot. If you have Tyronn Lue, it doesn't make sense to rebuild at this point in time.
All right, I want to hear your thoughts. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Are you with EJ that the Clippers are still in the mix? Or are you with me that they are stuck in NBA limbo and not getting out of that? There's another contract in one of these teams that, again, just shocked me. I cannot believe how much money is going around for average players at best, but I've been doing that for 20 years in the NBA. Just because there's only 5 guys on the court, these guys get paid. But this one kind of bothers me, and it's about one of the teams we were just talking about. That's next. Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
All right, back on Maggie and Perloff. EJ sitting in for Maggie. Heated argument about Clippers versus the Rockets. EJ, not a Rockets fan, I'm noticing.
I just think that there's a lot of hype. Like I'm sick of hype, man. Like, and we were talking about it in the break.
Yeah.
This conversation about relevance, and I was saying for me, relevance means relevance towards winning a title. That's all I care about.
Right.
This like TMZ nonsense, and Kevin Durant was at the Fanatics Fest, and he heard he got traded, and now everyone's on the Rocket wave. I'm not a wave rider.
Well, here's the thing,
I don't
though.
ride the recent wave. And to me, if you're thinking the Rockets are any more serious of a title contender than they were last year, because they got a guy who couldn't win 40 games playing for the Suns, then good luck. Have him.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's an argument, all right. I mean, you're saying that they were better off with Jalen Green than Kevin Durant. Okay. But here's the thing. When you talk about relevance for title, the thing is the Clippers are way down the list for me, because the Rockets at least have a boom or bust potential. And a lot of teams do, where like, okay, I can see the path. I don't see the path with the Clippers, and I think you do.
I just see, to me, again, we've talked about this on the show, where it's been this idea that there's been these random teams that have been making the NBA Finals and making playoff runs that we don't
not
expect.
random teams have been winning, though. I mean, yeah, some crap teams are coming out of the East, like the G League Heat.
But at the end of the day, we've had a different title team every year.
Right, but there's been nothing random about them. The OKC has been building up. The Celtics have been building up. The Warriors had Steph Curry, and the Nuggets had Jokic.
The Warriors year before didn't make the playoffs. The Warriors had one of the worst teams in
but
the league.
We all understood what was happening there.
Well, I don't know if we all understood. Nobody was running to the Warriors preseason to win a title that year. That was a very surprising title. So the point being is that we've seen teams make crazy runs.
Right. But
I'm not the believer that I just look at who won the championship and say, okay, that was the only team that was a title contender that year. That's not how we talk about any sport.
Well, okay,
there are multiple teams that are title contenders, and that's why we play the games to see who wins.
But honestly, it's not quite as random as you're describing to me, because we all knew OKC was coming. I feel like
I kept trying to convince you. I bet Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was. You kept saying he couldn't win playing that way.
Okay, so you're saying that OKC were a big surprise to everyone?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that yes, just like you're saying, I can't take victory laps. I don't want you to run around now saying OKC Thunder when I was the one telling you about Shai for years.
This probably comes down to the process. Like, I'd rather go boom or bust. Like, I just don't want to be in limbo. See, I think you're totally irrelevant if you're in limbo in the NFL and the NBA, and a lot of these teams feel in limbo to me. Where like you're old and there's no championship window. And I hate to say it, I think LeBron sees that with the Lakers, believe it or not, because he said he had his agent come out and say, I don't think a championship's coming here. The reality is you're going to have to be really, really good to come out of the West this year, because OKC is young. Everyone's coming back. They're a strong favorite. Then you got Joker in Denver and you got Curry in Golden State. So I think it's going to be hard. But I understand the hype around. I'm not as down on Kevin Durant as you are. You apparently think has no chance of doing what I think a lot of people think he could do with the Rockets.
It has been a very long time since I've seen Kevin Durant make any kind of impact in playoff basketball. The last series he played with the Nets, he was swept. The last series he played with the Suns, he was swept. Last year, he didn't even make the postseason. So this idea that Kevin Durant is some game changer, where if he's your number one option. Now, if you tell me he's your number two option, that's a whole different thing. I saw him play in the Olympics, and he was outstanding. I've seen him play on teams where he has multiple superstars around him, and he's outstanding. But if you're telling me that he's going to be your best guy, your engine of your offense at his advanced age with his injury history, yes, I am betting against that 100%.
Dead is dead. So, but then the funny thing is, you don't mind. So they have a lot of these former top 3 picks on the team, Reed Shepherd, and one guy, Jabari Smith Jr., who they re-signed yesterday for, I think, $122 million. Is that the actual number? Now, I don't like this deal at all. I don't understand how Jabari Smith has done anything in his career to warrant that kind of contract. He scored 12.2 points per game. But here's the thing that really bothers me about Jabari Smith.
Okay.
Dude is 6'10", maybe 6'11".
Yep.
Shot 43% from the field on a team with millions of options around him. Why is he not a better shooter? And that's supposed to be his specialty. Like, honestly, that says losing player to me. I know he could play some defense, but you saw the way the Rockets, they did not trust him in big moments. So he should be farther along in his NBA career if he's going to make that kind of money.
Well, he shot 35% from three on volume for a 6'10" guy. That's pretty good. So when you're looking at his field goal percentage, you can't just run.
But even his effective field goal percentage is not good enough. He should be for the number 2 overall pick. I mean, how is he not breaking the starting lineup?
Well, you keep telling me how deep this team is and how great they are.
You say they're not. I mean,
right. Well, I mean, to me, I think, look, Jabari Smith, you're doing this on projection, right? This is a guy who this is his 21-year-old season he just had. Like, this is not a guy who's a finished product. So they're hoping that this guy can be a player that develops into one of these guys who can be a glue piece. Because at the end of the day, again, we see the money. We say, oh my God, $122 million. You can't look at contracts like this is 1998. That's really kind of like effective starter money. This is not superstar money. This is not even really all-star money. This is money on a guy that you're betting on. And in many ways, I think to get him on this contract this early in this many years, he may overperform that contract a couple of years. I still think the upside is there. He is a good shooter from the outside. He's a guy who's a little hot and cold. We know that for sure. But his size, his defense, I get why you want him. Again, the other option is you trade him for another win-now guy who's probably going to be older, probably going to be on a worse contract. And that's not the way I think the Rockets are going to build this thing correctly. So I didn't have a problem with the Jabari Smith deal.
Yeah, I just feel like this is going to be – I mean, you're right. Maybe he does develop. But the player I saw last year, so hot and cold, like – I think they're going to be trying to get rid of this contract at some point. It feels like a lot, free agency starts today, and the way the NBA works is, and I probably disagree with this, like there's going to be a lot of big deals that teams are desperate to get off their books in a year or two. That's just, I've noticed it. Same thing happens in the NFL.
Yeah.
Free agency is a flawed process. Obviously, if you're good enough, the team is going to do everything they can to retain you. But I feel like just a lot of these deals end up hurting the teams with the current financial structure of the NBA.
Well, that's why the Thunder have done it right. And that's why if you're building a team, I think you should be trying to do it the way the Thunder did. Now, it takes a lot of cracks at some draft picks. Like the Thunder, surprisingly enough, we don't talk about the guys they missed on. We don't talk about Ousmane Deng very much, even though he was a top 11 pick in the NBA
who's that
draft.
guy the Thunder re-signed yesterday?
Well, they traded Dylan Jones, who they traded all these picks for late in the early in the second round. They traded him away for only 1 second round pick. So, and then they signed a guy as well yesterday who was a first round pick who hasn't really played for them. So, the idea is they're not going to hit on all of them. You hope that you hit on some of them. And when you look at those salaries, I mentioned how James Harden, when he signs this deal, he's going to be around the 30th highest paid player. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I think, is sitting currently. He was somewhere around like the 40s. But that's what happens when you're able to re-sign your own players from rookie deals. You're able to sign them at reasonable contracts. So the Thunder had plenty of money, and they could just throw it to Isaiah Hartenstein, who's now a $30 million center, which sounds crazy. But they could afford that because they're not paying all these other guys out of the wazoo. So all these other teams are playing catch up. We can talk about the Rockets, the Clippers, the Lakers, all these teams. Yeah, we're living in an OKC Thunder world, and that's just the reality of the situation right now.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, we all know we're just an ankle turn away. That the NBA is now as people described, a warranty league. Like, just wait to see who gets hurt. It's the entire ball game for playoffs. Yeah, that's all that really matters.
And that's fair, and that's true, and I agree with that. But it helps being the younger team.
Yeah, that's a good point. And the way Shai is sort of rubbery or something, I don't know. He's super strong and super skinny, and knock on wood, hopefully he stays healthy.
I mean, the teams we're talking about, the Clippers, we got to hope that Kawhi stays healthy.
Well,
the Rockets, you got to hope that
you lost me.
Well, no, I'm saying I'm going to go through all of them. Rockets, you're hoping that Kevin Durant stays healthy. Lakers, you're hoping that LeBron and Luka stays healthy. Like, all these teams you're talking about, all these guys I'm naming are older players. Steph Curry, you got to hope that he stays healthy. Like, these guys that we're talking about that we're concerned about their injuries, with Luka is more weight, but with other guys, it's injuries. They're all older players. The Thunder don't have that issue. They don't have that worry at this point.
I'm well aware. Yeah, the Thunder are obviously in good shape. All right, Andrew Bogusch is sitting here. I just want to real quick share my car issue.
Ooh.
Okay. Everyone who listens to the show know that I bought a new car last week, not by choice. My old car was having many, many issues, but I had a great experience. the Honda dealership, drove away with what is now being called by the guys at my parking garage a really nice car.
Okay.
You got a Mercedes.
No, it's a Honda.
Oh.
And
Ladies, my Mercedes.
It's a Honda.
It's a Honda. Let's not kid ourselves here. No, it's really, really nice. So here's my issue. I don't want to drive it in New York City.
Yeah.
It is terrifying me. My last car had 160,000 miles on it and had a million dings. When I would, go pick it up, I would have to kick in the fender. Like everything was dinged up and it was totally comfortable and I could drive it around New York City without panicking. I am in a state of constant panic. I don't want to park it on the street. I don't want to drive over these massive potholes that are everywhere. I am not enjoying my new car. Bogusch, you know what I'm talking about.
Now, do you own this car or are you leasing
I own it? I do not lease.
All right. Well, I mean, I think there's a little, because when you're leasing it and you got to give it back, you got to give it back as close to pristine as possible.
I know.
Or they come and get you. So at least it's your car, and those bumps and bruises, they might not be pretty. You might not want them right away, but at least those are not necessarily like dollar signs staring you back in the face.
Well, if you want to get them out, it is.
Yeah, but you can get those out at your leisure.
Right, exactly. And you can live with whatever dings you want. Whereas, again,
or you can drive it 160,000 miles again and just be like, okay, I'm done with this one. Let me get a new one.
Yeah.
I know. It's just that it looks really nice now. The dings are going to be a big problem.
Right, but can I say, as the non-driver who also lives in New York City on this show?
Yeah.
Subway, baby. Buses, baby. Like let's help the environment. Let's get involved with some mass transit. Let's do that.
Manny, can you do me a favor? Cut his mic.
The problem is he can't do that anymore because I have my own button now. So
we can turn down your levels though.
Well, yeah, I guess you can do that.
Yeah. Okay. So we're ignoring EJ here because I'm.
Wait, why is that not? Why is that not a real option?
Because I'm not a trained psychiatrist. I'm not dealing with the subway on a daily basis.
I'm not saying on a daily basis, but I'm just saying put it more into your routine.
This is what you
take a shot at the subway there.
This is what you get for thinking that the Clippers are better than the Rockets.
Listen, I take the subway every day. I'm fine. It's okay.
Oh, okay. It's like you take the subway every day, huh? Interesting.
Yeah, I do.
Every morning you take the subway.
I take the subway every time I go home. I take the subway.
Okay.
What's the uh-huh-ing about that?
Yeah.
Did you see? I feel like I'm in a 60 Minutes interview. Do you take the subway back and forth from work every day?
I didn't say I take it back and forth every day.
I take the subway every day. Okay.
Okay, I do.
So for 50% of your commuting, you take the subway. The other 50% you get in a car.
Right.
At the time,
were you just saying how awesome the subway was?
Right, but I never said stop driving. When did I say that?
I feel like I'm sitting here with LeBron James because you're just openly allowed to contradict yourself everywhere.
No, I feel like I'm sitting next to, I don't know, like George Wallace or whatever, who's just going to lead me into crazy answers that I'm not telling you. What I'm telling you is if you have a problem with
George
your
Wallace.
car.
You mean from 60 Minutes?
Yeah, who's the guy there?
George Wallace is the guy in segregation.
Who's Chris Wallace is his son. I don't know. What's Mike Wallace?
Mike Wallace.
There you go. I'm with Mike Wallace, who's leading me into answers.
But you just said that the subway's so great, but you take an Uber for 50% of your commuting.
And you take it for the time that Perloff doesn't want to take the subway, too. Like you take it in the morning, which is what I'm assuming is your concern on the subway, is the early morning hours.
It's just annoying in the morning. Of course, I would love to take the subway home from work. I would love to.
But what's the problem with the subway at 4 a.m?
Actually, nothing. As somebody who takes it every morning, look at me. I'm fine.
Well,
and by the way, I also, to be clear, half the time I also do take the Long Island Railroad to the subway. So it's not like I'm Ubering all the time here. In fact, it's probably half the time.
But you were just saying that I should care about the environment. Like you should take the subway all the time.
I never said all the time. See, that's what happens with Perloff when I have a conversation with him. It's always like, you said I said this. No, listen back to what I said. What I said was, take the subway more, which is what you can do.
I got to be honest, EJ. The second you said subway, I had the first Uber thought that Perloff did as well.
Of course.
Boy.
Why?
Because I thought you took an Uber every morning. So I was wondering,
no, it's not every morning.
Where the subway
and your take didn't imply you should take the subway more.
Halfway.
It's like, take the subway. Like, don't drive into work, take the subway. That's what I heard.
Right.
Sounds like a black and white proposition to me.
Right, but if you take the subway back, that is, first of all, a less of a carbon footprint. That's a fact. And two, you won't have the issue with your dings on your car.
But he can't drive here and then take the subway home.
yeah.
Right, well, then maybe Uber in. That's
yeah,
fine.
I know. Uber's kind of expensive now,
That's
but
true.
I hear you.
I mean, again, this is not an everyday solution. It's just mix things up. You can't. It's like Shohei Ohtani. You don't have to pitch him all these innings.
Or Pearl.
That's a good analogy. Okay.
You can just come to work, drive in your new car.
And be fine.
Yeah, I'd get it all dinged up.
Now,
it looks so good right now.
It's going to get dinged up anyway, man. It's a car.
Yeah.
Do you think you could drive here, make an intern drive your car back to Brooklyn, and then you take the train home later in the day?
That's not a bad idea.
Take it right back to safety in Brooklyn.
Somebody's got to get intern Nick.
But do we trust the interns around here? They're pretty young.
We'll run a test or two.
Like a test drive?
Yeah.
Nick, can you drive in New York City?
I've done it a couple times.
He's done it a couple times.
Wow.
There we go.
Oh, my God. Yeah, by the way.
He didn't sound very confident to me.
I have a 14-year-old daughter who's like, I'm going to be able to drive at 16. I'm like, in New York City, you ain't. Right? I mean, EJ, you grew up here. You didn't drive because it's insane. The roads are, first of all, they're ridiculously in bad shape. And secondly, the traffic, whatever. Anyway, Bogusch, get to some headlines. I'm just upset right now.
It's where you guys began the show. LeBron opting in to $52 million from the Lakers for the coming season. Rich Paul issued a statement to say his client wants to win championships now, but understands the Lakers are also planning long-term. Paul certainly talked like LeBron was playing multiple more years. The Lakers also seeing Dorian Finney-Smith decline his $15 million option for next season, so he'll be an unrestricted free agent later today. Jabari Smith, as you just heard, he and the Rockets reportedly shaking hands on a 5-year rookie extension. It's worth $122 million. The Blazers are going to buy out DeAndre Ayton after failing to find a trade for him, and the Jazz dealing guard Collin Sexton to the Suns for center Yusuf Nurkic, both veterans expendable because of what their old teams did during the draft. At least one of us on this show lost money because of this last night.
20-year-old Damian Downs, German-born to an American father, dreamed of being a pro football player when he was a kid. Now he's a pro soccer player, and he can win the shootout for the United States right here.
John Strong on Fox, Damian Downs scoring the clincher after Matt Freese made 3 saves for the U.S. in PKs with Costa Rica. So they reach the Gold Cup semifinals where they'll face Guatemala in St. Louis on Wednesday. And P.S., it was Manny who bet on Costa Rica last night.
Pura vida, pura tristeza, bro. Oh, they had it in their hands and they just let it go. I had some lunch money in my hands. I'm so angry. Damn,
Freeze in hell, Manny. Freeze in hell.
Do you remember, EJ, when Manny was bragging on the production call last night about that bet?
Oh my
That's
gosh,
when he started to
like,
lose
ooh,
it.
USA is overrated.
I mean, well, you want to open that can of worms? We can open that can of worms. I was feeling good after 15 minutes. Costa Ricans were up 1-0.
There's a lot of ways I can go with feeling good after 15 minutes, but I'm going to leave it.
Population
let the audience, let their imagination continue on that one.
15 minutes.
Population
marathon,
of
man.
Costa Rica, by the way, $5.1 million. Million people. Yeah, $5.1 million. Yeah.
5.1 million is what
By the way,
I'm spending
their
on
gross
they're
national
spending on the
product
next
is
vacation
actually
of Costa Rica.
huge. They make a lot of money, but they only have 5.1 million people.
So
we should beat that country.
Yeah, so you're telling me that the United States, just getting by on a sudden death PK win against a population of 5.1 million people is something that you guys should be writing home about?
Yeah.
I don't
Listen,
think so.
I was concerned until I texted our soccer expert that's not you, but is Anthony Gallo from the station.
That guy doesn't know anything.
And I was like, should I be concerned by this? He's like, we have so many players that are hurt that aren't playing. Then I did my own research, which is always
that are hurt or decide not to show up?
Oh, some guys didn't show up, but some guys were hurt or whatever. And I'm like, oh wait, these are all backups. These is our B team. So okay, our B team had a little bit of a rough go with Costa Rica. We'll be fine when time we get to the FIFA World Cup.
I got to be easy. At least I've heard of Costa Rica. Some of the other teams they're playing.
You're not familiar with the word Guadeloupe?
Some of these small island countries that are pushing them to the brink, I find strange.
Hey, I mean, Trinidad and Tobago, eliminated them from, 2018 World Cup? That's the whole reason they didn't qualify. Can you point out where Trinidad and Tobago is on the map?
No, but at least I've heard of them. There's one country on there, I'm sorry, that I don't know much about.
Curacao.
Was it Curacao? Yeah, I didn't know Curacao was its own country with a viable soccer team.
You know what's the Little League World Series?
Oh, right. They are good at
They're great at Little League baseball.
Yeah.
That's how I know about Curacao. We'll be fine. And the most important thing is Manny was beating his chest about how much the U.S. was struggling, how this was going to be a winning bet for him.
Hey, this is America's golden generation. They just barely got by to the Gold Cup semifinals. Meanwhile, the Mexicans, one of the worst generations I've ever seen in my life, No problem getting to the same stage. Whatever.
Yo, if Mexico loses, I'm going to be insufferable.
To the U.S. next
Especially,
Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. Mexico against Honduras. I mean, if the United States has trouble against Guatemala, whew, brother.
Again, our team is not whole. Our team is not. This is not the entire U.S. team. Mexico, they're not sitting everybody.
Excuses.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's the one talking about excuses, and he's the one trying to defend the fact that he lost his own bet. You're the one that taking the L today, sir.
Yeah, I'm actually, the way that Manny's talking about it, I'm on Team Manny on this one. It
Thank you
sounds
very
like
much.
the Team USA is basically the Los Angeles Clippers.
Of course you're his side.
Exactly. You know what, Pearl? This is why you get paid the big bucks.
But this is also the guy that rooted for Canadian basketball in the Olympics. The two of you are unpatriotic. That's why you're on the same side here. You don't love this country.
Oh.
You prefer Dylan Brooks,
I
and you
want to make it
prefer
very
Costa Rica.
I want to make
Fine.
it very clear. I will not watch Olympic basketball because it's stupid. I mean, that one game where Curry went off was fun, but generally, I am fascinated by Team Canada basketball. It's one of the craziest. How much talent they have. Aren't you guys all fascinated by the collection of players they have in Canada? Anyone else with me?
I mean, I'm fascinated by RJ Barry. You
The
guys
fact that
already know that.
the finals had 3 Canadian stars was bizarre.
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander's a star, eh?
Yeah.
All right, very well.
I mean, the fact that Lou Dort and Nemhard and like these guys, like, why does Canada have so many good basketball players and they can't win a Stanley Cup? Bogusch.
Vince Carter,
Explain
yeah,
that one.
your favorite player. That's why.
Vince Carter is why.
Yeah, kind of. By the way, we're doing Mount Olympus this week. Coming up later in the week is Toronto.
Oh, we're gonna
Going
be
international.
We're gonna be belting out "Oh Canada," aren't we, Pearl?
Yeah, and we could do some of these players that are from Toronto. I mean, it's kind of, and the funny thing is, you would think, oh, Canada hockey, but then, Bogues, we run into the Toronto problem.
Who's from Toronto?
Drake.
Well, Shea, isn't Shea from Toronto?
Yes.
Yes.
Or Toronto area.
No, he's
Or
not
he
making
might
that.
be from Mississauga, but
Okay, all right. We have to take a break. I'm not sure what we learned there.
Ben Johnson.
Today, by the way, Denver Mount Olympus, which is an impossible one. Maggie
Sean
sent her
Marino.
picks. Shut up, Manny. Okay, is this over the air or in my ear?
It's always over the air.
Oh man! All right, we have to take a break, but I want to get into this Shohei pitching issue, and you notice I use the word issue because I have a problem with this. Next, Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. EJ Stewart sitting in for Maggie, who's on a well-earned vacation. A lot going on this sports weekend. It is June. You would think things were quiet, but the NBA is heating up with free agency starting tonight. And baseball, of course, we're kind of approaching the All-Star break, and a lot of storylines are emerging. But to me, the number one by far is Shohei Ohtani building up his innings pitched. Dodgers who feel like they're going to fully go for it to have him be a starting pitcher and a hitter. So on Saturday, dude throws 101.7 miles per hour. I'm a Phillies fan, and I'm worried about the Dodgers just dominating the NL. I got to be honest. I'm like, this is good news. If you're a Phillies fan. Bad news for baseball fans.
How is that good news?
Because 101.7, you think his arm, and he's had multiple surgeries already, is going to be able to throw at that speed with any kind of consistency while he's a batter and stay healthy? This is too much. This is way too much. He's getting too close to the sun. Shohei is Icarus, EJ. You can't be throwing the ball 102 miles per hour and then bat. And by the way, it was 0 for 4, and they lost the game on Saturday badly. I, one, don't think the Dodgers need him as a pitcher. I think you and I might disagree on that. And two, I think this is going to risk the best hitter in all of baseball, 3-time MVP. I think you're risking unnecessarily the greatest hitter of our generation. I mean, Aaron Judge is obviously right up there. There's no spite on Aaron Judge, but Shohei is the man. I think it's almost like putting Babe Ruth back on the mound. I know that sounds radical, but to me, that is what they are doing with Shohei Ohtani.
But to me, we've already seen this story before, so I don't know what the big deal is. We saw Shohei Ohtani pitch and hit. He was phenomenal. He got hurt. He missed half a season, and then he went back to just hitting, and then he was great. Like, to me, there isn't this crazy, terrible risk for the Dodgers to let him do what he's been doing.
Modern medicine, man.
It's crazy. Like, I don't know how he's doing it. Like, I don't know how coming off of multiple elbow surgeries, he's able to, still be this good a hitter and then even try to pitch again.
How about the fact his shoulder was falling out of his socket for the whole World Series and he came back and he starts immediately raking this year.
Yeah.
So he's superhuman.
Yeah, so part of me is like, look, like, I don't see the big risk with this. I don't think this is good news. I think this is bad news because the Dodgers, you mentioned the pitching, they absolutely need pitching. I mean, they've had all these injuries, which has kind of been the story for them. They sign all these guys and they show up and wear LA blue and they're on the IL almost immediately. So they definitely need starting pitching. They definitely need pitching depth. So if you have a guy who can throw 102 miles an hour and you're trying to win a championship, which has to be the goal every year for the Dodgers, then you're damn right I'm putting him on the mound. They don't got guys who can throw like him at this point.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, we just saw them dominate the Yankees with a bullpen game. So we know that they have ways of finding the pitching.
Right, but that was one game, and the problem with baseball is, yes, you can piecemeal it together every now and then, but if you're going to seriously talk about winning a championship every year, you're going to have to need some pitching, and you can't completely tax your bullpen. So I don't believe the Dodgers are in a situation where if you have the starting pitching that they have, that they could win another title.
Yeah, but I mean,
I think they got, I don't say lucky because they got the best team, but I think they were fortunate last year to get by, and the Yankees were so bad when it came to October baseball, when it came to their bats.
Well, I just think it's June. I think there is time for that pitching staff to come together. You know, we're still a month away from the trade deadline, too. We'll get into that more later in the week, moves in MLB. But I just think that they're just trying something almost, and this could sound bad, for the sake of trying it. I think they want to see history.
Well,
it's tempting, and I just think for a winning standpoint, I don't know if it's the smartest move.
But to be honest, and this is where you'll probably say that you're making your point, but I'll do it anyway. They got to get an investment on the $700 million. Like,
what does that matter? They're getting it as a hitter. First of all, it's a deferred $700 million.
Oh yeah, but still, nonetheless, it's $700 million.
And MVP award would not be enough.
No, because he justified getting $700 million by saying, "Hey, I'm a pitcher and a hitter." It wasn't give me $700 million because I'm the best hitter. That's
so
not
why
why
did
they signed him.
Why did the Mets sign Juan Soto for that huge contract?
He's younger. He's younger. He's a position player. That's why.
Well, unless Juan Soto gets on the mound, he ain't earning that money in my mind.
You may be right about that. I don't know, but that was why Shohei got that big contract. No question.
All right, coming up, Mount Olympus, 4 sports gods from every major city. Up today, Denver. Oh, this is going to be really fun. That's next, Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Yeah, I've got it both. Yep. Okay. All right.
15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, welcome in, Maggie and Perloff Show. EJ Stewart sitting in for Maggie, who's on well-earned vacation. Manny, you're on the other side of the glass here. Do you know where Maggie is?
I've been told she is in Malaysia.
Good. Stay with that.
Maggie famously will not tell Manny where she is, but I know. Hopefully she's not listening.
Malaysia's right?
Sure.
Hopefully she's not listening in the sense I hope she's relaxing by the pool or the beach or wherever she might be. Maybe the lake. Hint, hint, hint. Sorry, Manny. But she would have heard me and EJ arguing vehemently about a couple things. Are the LA Clippers relevant? I say no way. You could go to X and vote on that, re-signing James Harden, and what to do with the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron opts in $52.5 million for this year, but his agent, Rich Paul, tells ShamsCharania of ESPN that they might look around for a better chance at winning a title. And by the way, I'm going to credit you, EJ, for your restraint. You didn't immediately jump into the Knicks angle. You are a diehard Knicks fan. We'll see. I think the Knicks would make sense as a potential champion. I just don't think they can pull that off. A lot of teams in the same boat.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think that they can. It just would not make sense for them because if you do, it's either trading Karl-Anthony Towns and, okay, now you have a big issue at center now because the only center they have is Mitchell Robinson, who's very injury-prone. And then number two, it's all right, well, then let's combine all these wings we have and trade LeBron James. Well, now you're giving up 2 or 3 guys who are key players for you, and now you are a team that doesn't have depth already. Now you're losing more depth, so it doesn't really make sense for the Knicks. I think for the Cavs, they have a similar issue where in order to match the salary, because LeBron was so hell bent on making sure that he's making top dollar, so he's going to be making $52 million on his option. To match those salaries, I think it's going to be tough for them to not give up some massive pieces. So I think however he shakes it, he's going to be in a tough spot. That's why I looked at him and said, maybe the Warriors. Now, the Lakers would have to want to give him to the Warriors, which is the biggest hurdle, I think.
How did the Warriors get $52 million to match salary?
So I think you start with a sign and trade with Kuminga. Kuminga, I think if you do a sign and trade for a full max, that's $30 million. And then you have Brandon Podziemski, and then you think you fill in the rest of the salaries from the team to get to your $50 million number. And I think you'd be able to do it with the Warriors. Now for the Lakers, do you want to give Kuminga $30 million? It's a fair question. I don't know if I would. But that's, to me, if I was trying to win a championship, that's where I would go.
How do Jimmy Butler, LeBron James, and Steph Curry work together? It feels like LeBron and Jimmy Butler are duplicative. I'm not quite sure I get the formula.
I mean, I think with LeBron, you put him at the 4. You play small.
Oh, like kind of late career Magic Johnson when he came back?
He plays
LeBron, but that's not LeBron. LeBron's not going to want to be a true 4.
Well, LeBron wants to be on a super team, which I think is the problem, is that LeBron is living in a world that doesn't exist, where he thinks that if I could just pair up with a couple of superstars and we'll be fine. And he sees the Lakers, he sees only one superstar and a lot of nothing. He's like, well, I can't win here. So I think he needs to go to a team where...
It does have Luka.
I know. And, listen, Luka is a superstar in his own right, but the problem is, for LeBron, is the Lakers have so many other issues, and those 2 guys, their strengths are the same. So when it comes to their problems at point guard, their problems with the fact that they don't have enough size, those are things that him and Luka can't fix.
Well, it comes down to the major difference, the way you and I see basketball. And you're not always like this, but for me, the team that passes the most always wins. Now, the OKC did not pass a lot. I think they ranked 24th in passes made this year. But you could see in the playoffs when Shea got into isolation ball, that let the Pacers back into the series. I thought Jason Tatum went to isolation ball and gave the Knicks a series. The team that passes the ball wins. That's how the NBA generally works. It's Steve Kerr's philosophy, 300 passes in a game. So the question for me is LeBron is not that style player. Has not always been that style player because he's so dominant with the ball in his hands. Jimmy Butler is definitely not that style player, but it did kind of work last year. So are they going to be able to run that motion style offense with LeBron, Jimmy Butler, and Steph Curry. It's a much different Warriors team. It's not the Klay Thompson Warriors team.
And that's true, but I think we saw LeBron play on Team USA. That's him playing for Steve Kerr. That's him playing with Stephen Curry.
Yep.
And he was very good. He really wasn't. The only time where he really struggled was, ironically, in the gold medal game. That's when Steph Curry really took over the team. But for most of that tournament, LeBron was their best player. Like, we've seen him play in that environment and be fine. Like, when we played the Miami Heat, that was a team that moved the ball extremely well. And a lot of his best plays were him cutting to the basket with tomahawk dunks, the famous picture of him, Dwayne Wade posing while he's dunking in the background. Like, a lot of that wasn't just him going 1-on-5. So he can play. LeBron can play any style. He's one of the smartest players to ever play in the game. The question is, he needs way more help is the problem.
Well, I don't know. Last year, though, I think his best move is have the ball at the top of the key, get a pick, and just start going downhill. I mean, still, I don't care how old he is. That's still unstoppable. So I'll see. I mean, is he really going to spot up in the corner? I don't know. It just feels like an odd fit to me. Also, I think it's going to be really difficult to make that all happen. Let me ask you this question. Does he want to go to Golden State? Because what happened last time Golden State made a move for him?
Well, the Golden State was apparently interested, and the Lakers, it was funny the way they positioned themselves. They really didn't make a point. They just went to Rich Paul and said, hey, what do you think? Which is kind of interesting that they didn't just say, stop calling me, get out of here. They went to his agent, and Rich Paul said LeBron doesn't want to go there.
We'll get to Mount Olympus at Denver in a second. A couple ridiculous points about LeBron. 3 weeks ago said ring culture was overrated, but now all he wants to do is chase a championship. But the biggest one is he made the team draft Bronny, and now he wants to leave. We haven't even talked about that yet. I mean, what is that about? Defend that move.
Listen, it's about him getting the foot in the door, right? Isn't that what we say in all job situations? Get your foot in the door, and then you got to take it the rest of the way. I mean, look, the Bronny thing was ridiculous. I mean, we all know he wasn't an NBA player. We all knew that he needed plenty of more time, whether it be in college or Europe or G League or whatever. But I think with LeBron, I think he realized that, okay, I got my son in the league, and now it's up to him to decide what he's going to do and if he can stick in the league. But if I'm thinking about myself, there's really no path for me to win here. And that's actually the interesting question before we get to the Mount Olympus. Is he jumping the gun? Like, the Lakers haven't even done anything in free agency yet. They haven't even tried. Like, Dorian Finney-Smith opted out. There's word that the Rockets are definitely zooming in on him. I don't know if that means that it's basically a done deal and they're just waiting for 6 p.m. today, or if it means that the Lakers can still match an offer potentially. Yeah. But, like, is he jumping the gun here? I mean, again, if we look at the West, I know we talk about how strong it is, and I think it is a strong conference, but it still, to me, still feels like the Thunder and everybody else. I don't see like multiple teams that if the Lakers went up against them, they'd have problems. They had problems with the T-Wolves last year. That felt more like a matchup thing, which is what LeBron said. LeBron said that we were matched up poorly against that team. That team had too much size. If they played a different team in the first round, if they played a team in a different team first round, maybe things go differently.
Okay, another team that's contending in the West is, of course, the Denver Nuggets, which brings us to our Mount Olympus of Denver sports.
It's time to feast your ears on Maggie and Perloff's Mount Olympus.
Okay, so we're doing 4 sports gods from every major sports city, and we added on 4 more for this week. We're doing Denver, Minnesota, Toronto, and St. Louis, 4 big-time sports cities. We're going to start with Denver today. EJ has Maggie's choices. Maggie did send in her picks because we've been going head-to-head, and then we put up a poll on whose is better. This one is very hard because there are a lot of sports gods for Denver. I'll get us started. Number 1, obviously, John Elway. I almost put John Elway on here twice. Early career John Elway, when he got them to the Super Bowl and lost, and late career John Elway, where he got them to the Super Bowl and won his last 2. I don't think you need a lot of explanation for John Elway. Obviously, one of the top 10 quarterbacks of all time and synonymous with Denver Broncos. Went there and ran the team, did win a Super Bowl while he was doing that, although it was kind of an up and down career as an executive. I still think he is in Denver. He's an institution, and that's a no doubt. I'm going to assume Maggie had that one. You don't have to give me all of Maggie's list, but we're not arguing over John Elway. All right. Next, I went with Mr. Jokic himself, who we just mentioned. Obviously, brought a title to the Nuggets, something that no one else had been able to do. 3-time MVP. He's still got a long ways to go. The amazing thing about Jokic is he just turned 30. I mean, he could have, if he wants, another his style play, 5 to 10 years of relevance. he could just be scratching the surface in what he can do at Denver. Now, I don't quite understand why the Nuggets got a little bit cheap, I'll just say it, after their title run. Didn't bring back some players, and now they're having trouble getting back to where they were. I think if Aaron Gordon doesn't get hurt, maybe they give OKC a run in Game 7 of this year's playoffs. But Jokic is already a sports god, maybe one of the youngest sports gods we've had across this entire country. So that was an easy one for me. Next, let's go to the world of the NHL. Now, there are a couple of Avalanche players that easily could have made this list, but I went with Joe Sakic because he is, again, like many players on the sports gods, has stuck with the team, has stuck around Denver, had many, many years leading the Colorado Avalanche, an all-time player. There were a couple other players that were in play here. I definitely wanted to represent this team because, they do have all the sports. I think hockey can be forgotten in this Mount Olympus, but then we get a lot of calls. But I put Joe Sakic on there. Now, if you want to kill me, guys, from Canada for not putting two Lanch on there, then go ahead. I'm not going to read his resume because I'll probably screw up pronunciations like I'm already doing right now. But he's easy on there. Okay. My last spot. This was really the controversial one.
Okay.
There are some great Rockies, Hall of Fame players from the Rockies.
Troy Tulowitzki.
I love Troy Tulowitzki. I love Nolan Arenado. I really love Todd Helton. He almost made it. But how can you not put a guy who is in the biggest stage in the world? His head hurts so much he can't even see. He's blinded by a migraine, and yet he dominates the world champion Packers. It has to be Terrell Davis. I mean, what an incredible player. The downside was he only played, I think, 6 years with Denver, but two-time Super Bowl winner and just one of the all-time great runs we've ever seen with any team. Of course, Super Bowl MVP. Amazing back. I thought that he personified that team that John Elway did win his Super Bowls there, but to me, TD was the star of that team. Incredible running back, and I can't give him enough praise. I think he was one of the unsung heroes of that era of the NFL. So that was my fourth sports god. I have a feeling Maggie went in some different directions, and I'm very curious to hear.
This one's going to be interesting, and I think there are going to be some more people angry at Maggie's list. The more I look at Maggie's list, I'm getting more angry reading it, so good luck to me trying to defend it. I'll have some of the picks that I would have done here, because I also disagree with some of Perloff's picks. But let's start with Maggie's pick. So, John Elway, of course, as you said, obvious, right? She does also have Joe Sakic on there.
Yep.
Was a captain, center, awesome player for the champion Avalanche. She has two Avalanches on her team. She has Patrick Waugh. Two Avalanches? Is that how you say it? I don't know. Two Avalanches, two Avalanche, whatever you're going to do. It's like Miami Heats, right?
All right, she put Patrick Waugh.
Patrick Waugh, one of the greatest goalies of all time, three-time Vezina Cup, the Vezina Award winner. So Patrick Waugh makes the spot. And then the last one, I was stunned by this. I'm still keep looking at this, make sure this is real. She put Von Miller. Von Miller
that's not
Von Miller
crazy.
gets the last spot. Well, I'm a little because Maggie her disdain for Von Miller as a Bill is what makes me surprised that she would pick him for any Mount Olympus, let alone Denver's Mount Olympus. Von Miller was a phenomenal player, defensive rookie of the year, multiple time All-Pro. He dominated the Super Bowl that they won when they beat Cam Newton and the Panthers. He's one of the best pass rushers of his era for sure. But she has no Nikola Jokic on this list, and that is where I say, Maggie, what the hell? I mean, what are we doing? I mean, Nikola Jokic has to be on any Mount Olympus, no?
I think so.
I mean, the guy's a two-time MVP.
My problem is Patrick Waugh. That's to me the biggest standout. How many years do you think he was there?
He was there for a while. No, Patrick Waugh, that's where I disagree with you. I think you putting TD over Patrick Waugh is a mistake.
Patrick Waugh was there from age 30 to 37. He was there for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
He was there for both titles. There for both titles. He was a dominant player.
But I mean, obviously, like Patrick Waugh is not going to the Hall of Fame in a Colorado uniform. I don't know if they do it that way. It's going to Montreal.
I mean, I don't think to me that they're. First of all, I don't know if that's the case because the way the thing ended in Montreal was a disaster. So he's kind of still, persona.
Do they go in jerseys for NHL? Let's look at.
I'm not sure, but to me, like he's not necessarily Montreal's favorite son, considering how that thing ended. and he's beloved in Colorado. And like I said, he was a great player for the Colorado Avalanche. Again, he was an all-star. He led them to 2 titles. Some of his best seasons, arguably his best season, was with Colorado.
But you think he's a bigger guy than TD?
I do, because to me, I think when I think of the Broncos, still I think mostly of John Elway. And that's unfair to TD, but I think TD getting hurt is one of the reasons why.
Yeah.
I think with the Avalanche, I don't just think Joe Sakic. I don't know how you think of that Avalanche era where they're battling against the Detroit Red Wings every year and that great rivalry. I don't know how you only pick one guy. To me,
are you serious? For Denver sports, where the Broncos are the most iconic team, that is the city of Denver, is the Broncos, the Orange Crush. I mean, they were in the Super Bowl in the 70s. Like,
yeah,
if you're going to do multiple for a team, it's got to be the team that's been there the longest.
But Terrell Davis was Terrell Davis's time as a star player for them was so short. Like,
no,
Patrick Waugh had more good years in Denver than Terrell Davis did, and they won the same amount of titles.
I just think it's funny to have 2 Colorado Avalanche and 1 Bronco, or sorry, 2 Broncos, no Rockies and no Nuggets.
To me.
Also, Alex English is obviously gets a lot. If you're going old school,
is great, and I
feels
think
very iconic.
Yeah, he's one of my.
I wouldn't have Roy in my top 8 even. Personally,
no. See, that's where I disagree. I mean, Patrick Waugh, again, 2 titles.
You don't think Alex English is like, guys? Todd Helton was there for 17 years. I mean, he was a huge deal.
He didn't win a lot. He wouldn't be anywhere close. If I was going to pick somebody from the Rockies, I probably would actually lean Larry Walker than I would Todd Helton.
I think that would be a mistake, just based on longevity, too. I just think that Todd Helton, you know how we talked about, like, Jeff Conine was Mr. Marlin, right? He is Mr. Rocky. He's the most... I just think longevity makes a big deal.
Todd Helton was one of my favorite players growing up when I was watching baseball. So I love Todd Helton. But again, I'm thinking about weighing titles, weighing impact. I mean, Patrick Waugh coming over from Montreal, he was the reason why they got over the top. Like, they were not a championship team until Patrick Waugh got into that goal. So to me, you can't separate him from that Avalanche run.
Who do you think wins this poll, EJ?
I think you're going to win because not having Jokic is insane. I'm sorry. And, I love Maggie, but I saw this list. And, again, I keep looking at it. I keep looking at my text to make sure I didn't send the wrong list to Cap. But I just copied the text that Maggie sent me. So this is what
I totally disagree with you.
You disagree with what? That Jokic is the issue?
No, I think I win because she has Roy over
Terrell Davis?
Terrell Davis and Jokic. I mean, listen, I'm looking at the site Ranker.com. They have Roy as the 4th most famous Colorado player, the 4th most impactful Colorado player. Peter Forsberg, number 2, and then current Nathan McKinnon, number 3, and then Roy, number 4. Forsberg is an issue too there.
Forsberg was great too. I think to me, I wasn't going to do Forsberg and Sakic. I wasn't going to do both.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I hear
Forsberg was great, and I actually was like, man, does Forsberg get over Sakic? But I'm going.
Yeah, I would like to hear from people in Denver because to me, I mean, Alex English, first of all, he was the guy in that movie where he played a Celtic and he saved the world in the 80s.
What?
Oh, it was amazing.
Are you serious? That happened?
I think it was Alex English. Yeah, he is an all-time player. God, he would have translated so well in today's soft NBA. He just came up in the wrong era.
Are you talking about the motion picture Amazing Grace and Chuck?
Yeah, a fantastic movie. Honestly, you'll cry. You guys, and Alex English was awesome in it. It's Alex English, right? I couldn't remember which 70s, 80s scorer it was, but the old school Nuggets with that city uniform was the best. But we want to hear from you. Who do you like more? My Mount Olympus for Denver Sports or Maggie? 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4476. Just to go over one more time, I went with John Elway, Joe Sakic, Nikola Jokic, and Terrell Davis. EJ?
Maggie went with Patrick Waugh, Joe Sakic, John Elway, and Von Miller.
Ooh, interesting. I just didn't see any of those coming. All right. We'll hear from you on the Denver Mount Olympus. See you on the phone lines. I think I'm going to get a big W today, which makes me feel great. Again, 888-710-4ISN. Let us know, who are your Denver sports gods?
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
All right, back on Maggie and Perloff show. Today is Denver, Mount Olympus, 4 sports gods from every major sports city. Denver, I think things have gone a little haywire. Maggie's not here. EJ Stewart is sitting in trying to defend her choices. And we put up a poll. I'm not even going to look at the results of this one, but I guarantee I'm winning this one. I have John Elway, Joe Sakic, Nikola Jokic, and Terrell Davis. EJ, Maggie has?
So Maggie has John Elway and Joe Sakic as well, but then the last 2 picks are Patrick Waugh and Von Miller.
Okay, so you could go to @Maggie and Pearl and vote
I hear a long,
yeah,
hard
Andrew
sigh
Bogusch is
from
in for
Andrew
updates.
Bogusch. Do you have a problem with this, Bogusch?
I mean, well,
Get
first
out
of all,
the
let me
way.
just clear up the hockey lexicon for you guys. They're the Avs if you're going to go plural.
Thank you
It's
for
not
that.
Avalanchers or
Avalanche.
the Lanch. It's the Avs.
Should have known that.
But I don't understand why our girl keeps doing this.
So where's the beef with this one? It's Jokic missing, obviously.
Well, it's the back half. The first two are almost indisputable. Jokic has to be in it. You don't. I can't.
Right,
I don't,
the first two are indisputable: Elway and
Sakic.
and Sakic.
Okay.
Yes. I think those guys have to be in it. If you're going to do a second Avalanche player, to me, it's Peter Forsberg, but you don't need a second Avalanche player in there. You need
In Denver.
Jokic. Right. You need Jokic, and then you need to set another Bronco.
And she did have with Von Miller,
But
that,
it's not.
that would
But it's not
surprise
Von
me.
Miller.
Yeah.
It's probably Terrell Davis.
Or you could make a good argument for Mike Shanahan too. I believe somebody
Yeah.
on social made that to us.
Yeah.
Or are we forgetting a Bronco of the 70s? I mean, it's not. I can't.
Mecklenburg, maybe.
It's not Von Miller.
So Mecklenburg is. You guys don't really probably remember the first generation of Tecmo Bowl. John Elway was the
Yes.
most incredible player, but you couldn't find a good Denver defender, so you had to go Mecklenburg. So everyone in the 90s, Mecklenburg was a factor in the video game world.
Yeah.
But he wasn't quite Mount Olympus. The 70s was the Orange Crush, and they had this incredible defense, but they lost to the Cowboys in the Super Bowl. Still, it just feels like, to me, Denver, and correct me if I'm wrong, you can give us a call, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Denver is primarily a Broncos town,
Has
number
anyone
one.
mentioned Shannon Sharp?
Shannon
I thought
Sharp.
about Shannon Sharp.
Oh, my gosh,
Yeah.
yeah. Von Miller, by the way, I don't have a huge problem with. Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, I just.
Peyton Manning, I would not. Peyton Manning definitely gets some attention here, too, because he stayed in Denver.
Yeah.
Right, but I still just. I don't know why Maggie. It's like she wants to get yelled at by the internet.
But my question, though, for you, Bogusch,
think she does.
is why is the patch? Because I had a bigger issue with Miller than Wah. To me, Wah, I mean, he shows up, and now the Avalanche are a championship team, and he was there for 2 rings, and he was a phenomenal goalie. I know it was the end of his career, but it was not like this was a guy who was just like ring chasing and like was really not contributing. He was still a star goalie,
Of course.
So like, was that crazy to put him over Forsberg or any other Broncos legend?
I think more than attacking, so to speak, was candidacy.
Sure.
I just don't think there's room in Denver for a second hockey player.
I got you.
Unless I'm missing the crazy love affair with him or Forsberg or Ray Bork coming in there and finally winning one that he couldn't
Right.
win with Boston. I just don't think the Avalanche on the newer side of things, especially in comparison to the Broncos and the Nuggets, I don't think that there's room for a second person. And as good as Wah is, he wasn't good enough to change the numbers of that foursome.
By the way, I always felt a little bad. Ray Bork didn't even get mentioned in the conversation in Boston.
You can't.
Yeah, because Boston was so ridiculously heavy.
I know.
And Cam Neely, too, because he's a big
Seabass.
personality in Boston. And Boston, I think we left like Bobby Orr off. So it was ridiculous. EJ, again, you're trying to defend it today. I just think 2 Avs. There we go.
There we
Bo.
go.
There it is.
Yeah,
English.
2 Avs, 2 Lanches. But you know what? That I thought
Two Lance Stevensons. As we
my
say.
5th choice was Todd Helton, and EJ's not quite seeing that one because the longevity, outstanding play. The team was pretty good on and off when he was there. It was not an also-ran team. They were a factor.
Well, I just circled through again a Google search of Denver Mount Rushmore. And
Not
dump
Olympus.
it.
and
like Baltimore, you can't say that on this.
and
yeah,
4
release.
different places, and the sporting news, real high end outlets, not like Timmy's Denver sports blog. They had Helton in all of them.
Yeah, Helton's a big deal there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was hard. It came down to TD. To me, maybe it's more of a national perspective, but I feel like TD is more nationally famous than Todd Helton.
Yeah.
Todd Helton is kind of also known as the guy who did he get hurt to let Peyton Manning take over a quarterback at Tennessee, or he was on that team? I can't remember the details.
He was there. I thought he was his backup.
Yeah, I think he was. Anyway, he's connected.
there,
He's
though.
kind of like a Clayton Kershaw and Matthew Stafford playing high school football.
You know that they went to high school together in Texas?
I'm aware.
Oh,
Never knew that.
Yeah,
I learned that for the first time when Manny just said that.
you're welcome.
But Todd Helton, famously known at Tennessee with Peyton
Yeah.
Manning on the football team, but an incredible player. There are actually Were you making a joke about Troy Tulowitzki? That was no joke, dude.
A little bit. It was
Well,
a
he's
little
a great
tongue-in-cheek.
player. Got to the World Series.
Yeah, but I mean, the end of again, it wasn't with the Rockies. The end of Troy Tulowitzki's career was kind of a little bit left to be desired. But I mean, how about Allen Iverson, huh? 2 years in Denver? I can't believe you omitted him.
We didn't mention Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah. Well,
I'll be honest.
Didn't win like Jokic.
Yeah, that's why I wouldn't put him on. But
No,
I mean, if you're gonna mention Alex English, then Carmelo Anthony deserves to be
No,
mentioned
but
as well.
English was there a lot longer. That's why I think Alex English would get a big. He was. I think how many times was the leading scorer in the NBA?
Yeah, but Melo was the leading scorer every year he was in Denver, which was 8. It wasn't like he was there for a short amount of time.
No, leading was Melo.
Oh, in the NBA.
Yeah.
I don't know if he led the.
He was there for 8 years, Melo?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I actually am surprised it was that long. It feels. Did you know that he was there for 8 years? Carmelo?
Yeah.
Double
I mean,
check.
at least that was
Wow.
the research I did before we started this show that he was there. I believe it was 8. I think he got traded in his 8th season in Denver.
EJ's
yeah,
correct.
8 years.
Because he also then played, 17 years? I mean, he played a long time.
He played a long time. Yeah.
English said 15 years. Alex English, 15 years in Denver. Let's see. He actually only led the league in scoring one time in 1982-83. But
to me,
he was also a great part of the community too. Like he was a big deal for the Nuggets fans.
Yeah, no, he was a phenomenal player, a great player. But to me, they're very similar to me. If Melo would have finished his career in Denver, it probably would have went the same. It went with Alex English.
There's really no way to fully quantify this and to go back through all of these cities. But if you could, I feel like Denver might be close to unanimous as any city we've had. Like the 4 of Sakic, Jokic, Helton, and John Elway, if you were to run a poll, I would think that would be the large majority of selections. Like everybody else, there's a conversation a little bit, but really they can't break into that 4. Other cities have
who's
had
your 4th? You said Helton?
Yeah. So Elway, Helton, Sakic, and Jokic.
Well, no, Helton is. I think shaky.
Helton,
I don't think so.
I think he's very controversial.
I don't think Helton is shaky. I think Helton is like Mr. Rocky, and he's not going. And people are, and he's not going to be let off a lot of lists.
Okay.
Outside of Elway, he's the only career player from any of those teams in the Hall of Fame.
Well,
and Terrell Davis, but he was a short.
TD, yeah. Did he play on another team?
He played 6 years though.
Yeah, but he's in the Hall of Fame,
right? But I get the point that a longer tenured guy, but TD would be the only guy. And did Steve Atwater play with another team? I don't know if because he's in the Hall of Fame too, or he's about to be. Either way,
yeah, that can't be. That can't be right. I would fact check that. Alex English played. Oh yeah, he played a half a year somewhere else.
Right. Yeah. I hate to be the guy to poke holes at Todd Helton because I love Todd Helton as a kid. I don't think that they were good enough for me to take off guys who were winning championships in Denver. I don't.
Wait,
the Rockies were they went to the championship I think once when he was there, maybe twice. I'm not sure, but they were a team that was not making the playoffs almost every year. They were not good when he was there.
They were not that bad. Look at that record. He had a lot of winning records. Wait a second, though.
I'd like to fact check that.
Go back to Sakic. Didn't play on any other teams either, did he?
Sakic also.
He was on the Nordiques, who became the Avalanche.
Yeah, so I think, I don't know. I feel like there are more athletes like that. Okay, so give us a call.
He only made the playoffs, by the way, twice his entire career in Colorado.
Yeah, but
that's not good.
But I think
that's an expansion team. Yeah,
but I also think that's an objective way to look at something that's a subjective decision. And people in Colorado and Denver, they would have wanted to win more, but I don't know that has made them love him any less.
Yeah.
Or hold it against him that they didn't in terms of Helton. So
you got to remember that team was very young when Helton got there. Like how many years have the Rockies even been around? It's a different calculus. It's not the Yankees.
Oh, wait, breaking news. I got breaking news.
Uh-oh.
Do you have the Stone Cold music potentially? I don't know if you do. If you don't, I'm just gonna go. Okay. So I've heard from Maggie.
Oh, she's listening?
Maggie is listening to the show, and she has beef, and she wants to defend her picks. So she says here, first of all, she says show sounds great, which is great. There you go.
What is this called? The compliment sandwich?
Show
sounds great. You're idiots. Show sounds great.
However, she says, listen, Jokic isn't in there. Quote, he doesn't even want to be there. He's on the first flight out when they won a title. Didn't even want to be at the parade to celebrate with the fans. He's a great player, just not beloved.
Wow.
Okay. Well, I guess the voters will decide that. I mean,
what a very political answer there. When you have the high ground.
I understand. That's a really good point that he's not part of the community. Totally makes sense. But I still think they love him there.
They definitely love him there. And I think they love the fact that he wants to go back to Serbia and drink beers and bet on horses.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think if there's anyone who knows how much they love Jokic, it actually would be Perloff, because Sixer fans have been fighting Nuggets fans for 4 years about all those MVPs he was winning that should have went to Embiid that they thought. And these Nuggets fans kept coming out of nowhere and just destroying any Sixer fan who dared to say that Embiid was better. So they definitely love him.
You know what the best part about Jokic? We used to kill Luka Doncic for being out of shape in the offseason. Now he looks like he's in great shape. Jokic goes overseas, takes off his shirt at the beach, looks terrible, and we're all like, yes, you go. Living your best life.
That is
he gets nothing but positive reviews for being out of shape in the offseason.
That is the peak male body right there.
You guys see the most recent wave of photos of Jokic? I mean, he has not sniffed a weight room, and it does not matter.
Yeah, but he's 7 feet tall. You don't jump higher than a phone book. Like, he's okay.
Yeah, no, it's
he's
not
not
only okay. It's
athleticism.
cool. It's cool for my guy Joel Embiid not hitting the gym in the offseason as much. Means he is out for half the season with a knee injury. So, all right, folks, let's get to some headlines, and maybe Maggie can come back at us with another argument because that one's not working.
Along these same lines, will MALIK BEASLEY one day end up on the Mount Olympus of sports betting stories? The Pistons guard under federal investigation because of suspicious prop bets involving him. The first game that set off alarms was reportedly in January 2024 when Beasley was playing for the Bucks. His lawyer reminding us Beasley has not been charged with anything yet. They do appear to be cooperating with authorities. Apparently, though, talks about a 3-year, $42 million extension with the Pistons now on pause. LeBron opting in for $52 million for next season, but apparently he and the Lakers didn't discuss any agreement involving multiple years, so maybe the coming season is LeBron's last in L.A. He could have done what James Harden and the Clippers are doing. Harden declines a $36 million option, instead signs a fresh 2-year extension worth $81 million. The Blazers are reportedly buying out DeAndre Ayton because they couldn't trade him. The center was due $35 million for the coming season. And Jabari Smith getting a 5-year rookie extension in Houston. It's worth $122 million. Sunday Night Baseball went to Detroit last night for the first time in 8 years, and Tarek Skubal made it worth the trip. 7 innings, 13 Ks, 1 hit, 1 walk. His manager, A.J. Hinch.
He was outstanding, obviously. Not only with the execution and the pure dominance, but the ability to be creative and adjust to their aggressiveness, to stay in the moment, to give us 7 strong.
Over his last 15 starts, Skubal is now 10-0 with a 1.74 ERA. Damn. Yes, that's good before you ask, Manny. The Tigers won the game 3-0. By the way, 2 relievers finishing off a 2-hitter.
I'm sorry,
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Did you say that that's the first time ESPN is in Detroit for Sunday Night Baseball in 8 years?
8 years. I'll remind you how bad the Tigers have been.
Yeah, it makes sense. One of my favorite moments from last night was they're doing their typical player interview during the game, and it's with Carlos Correa. And he says, I wish you guys would be interviewing Skubal, see if you can distract him a little bit instead of talking to me. And to be honest, the way Skubal was mowing them down, he probably could have been mid-conversation striking out the Twins last night.
That's a good line.
Correa also said that he gives his kids chocolate for baseball practice, and they're 3 and 2. They do a drill, they get chocolate. So he apparently is running a baseball camp in his rec room.
He's probably running a dynasty. Chocolate.
Is that a PED for a little kid?
Yeah, that's definitely the best 3-year-old baseball team probably on planet Earth, right?
They might look like Jokic eventually, but they're going to play like him. The Dodgers 5-1 winners yesterday afternoon in KC. The Padres lost in Cincinnati. The Giants fell to the White Sox. So LA's lead in the NL West is now 7 on San Diego, 7.5 on San Francisco. Caitlin Clark and Nafisa Collier are captains for the WNBA All-Star Game. That's in 3 weeks in Indy. They are the leading vote getters. The other 8 starters revealed tonight. Then the coaches will pick reserves. Collier playing last night, 23 points, 6 rebounds. Her Lynx steamrolling the Sun, 102-63.
Oh, my
Connecticut has lost 9 straight, is now 2-15 overall.
I have a Perloff dilemma when it comes to Nafisa Collier.
Yeah, what's that?
She's obviously the biggest threat to the Liberty defending a title, but she is awesome. and that team is really good. And I want to root for Napheesa Collier as she kind of really steps into an MVP season. But I can't really do that because they faced the Liberty in the title in WNBA Finals last year. They'll probably face them this year. And she's having a phenomenal season. So I can't really root for her, even though she's been phenomenal. And by the way, she had the funniest, to me, like trying to diffuse a fight in a sport I've ever seen the other night. They were playing against somebody, I think Golden State. And she did the mom hands where like you do the you need to lower your voice thing while someone's like in her face ready to like punch her. I was like, I've never seen the mom hands saying lower your voice during a fight in a sporting event. And Napheesa Collier did it. She's awesome on all fronts, but she's probably going to kill my Liberty in a couple of months.
That's so weird. I don't understand. My brain is like, I didn't hear Caitlin Clark's name in that WNBA takes, therefore it doesn't register. What?
Oh, here's
and the impact on Caitlin Clark is what, DJ?
Here's the WNBA take. Paige Becker's having a better rookie season than Caitlin Clark.
Well, there you go. That's
Hey-o.
WNBA. Okay. Now we're talking clicks. That Napheesa Collier nonsense with the mom hands.
Mom hands.
U.S. men's soccer disappointing Manny last night, surviving PKs with Costa Rica to reach the Gold Cup semifinals. Matt Freese made 3 saves in that shootout. Then Damian Downs nailed the clincher. Up next is Guatemala on Wednesday in St. Louis.
No bueno.
And they are playing tennis on grass in London. It is day 1 at Wimbledon. Action on the 2 main courts about to begin, including Carlos Alcaraz on center court. Francis Tiafoe already has a straight set win here on morning number 1.
He won already?
Yes, he did.
Oh, man.
Alcaraz is on the big screen here in the studio. Gotta tell you right now, I don't want to be that guy in the headband on the other bench.
Fabio Fonini?
Yeah, he's like a wrestler who has a one piece and his name is like Bill Smith. He's about to get
from Peoria, Illinois.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Andre the Giant's coming out.
Yeah. This is he's going to be SD Jones in WrestleMania 1. I wish Bilotti was here for that reference. Lost in 8 seconds. King Kong Bundy for all you wrestling fans. Okay. The chat is killing Maggie for her Mount Olympus choices. We want to hear from you.
Must be a day ending in Y.
Do you have a problem with Maggie's Denver Mount Olympus?
That's not the right question. Is what's your problem with Maggie's Mount Olympus?
Can you specifically spell out your problems? 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Instead of Patrick Waugh, it's Patrick Waugh.
That's a good dad joke there.
There you go.
I like that one.
That is a pretty solid. I'm going to have to try that one on my daughter. All right. Give us a call.
She's going to hate it.
You're going to say, who's Patrick Waugh?
Coming up, there might be a new entry for the Salt Lake City area Mount Olympus. Even that's a stretch on a tease. We'll talk about Ace Bailey next. Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. Maggie is on vacation, but she still sent in her Mount Olympus of Denver sports heroes. EJ Stewart is in, has had to defend it. Of course, you can weigh in as well. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. The chat has weighed in a little bit on Maggie's somewhat controversial picks. She went with Joe Sakic, John Elway, who else? Patrick Roy, and Von Miller. According to Iowa Ska, she clearly made her list while she was early drinking and packing for her trip. Okay.
Timeline maybe not be wrong, depending on when I got the text from Maggie for this.
Oh, boy. Did you get the idea that she might have been drinking?
No, because there were no misspellings. But now I'm curious.
Were we accusing Maggie of being a little inebriated while sending you the
No. Listen, Maggie's made some really interesting picks throughout.
She's been totally fine this whole time.
I'll make the accusation then.
Yeah,
you just want company.
No, she goes a little contrarian. But I don't get her strategy here to put two abs on there in a town that really has a lot of sports going on. Struck me as a bit odd. You know, Andrew Bogusch was in and said we really missed on Todd Helton. I get it. For me, maybe it's just I'm an NFL guy to see. Terrell Davis, to me, was so big a part of that championship team. But we want to hear from you. Okay, another note in the chat is about our friend Manny.
What did I do now?
It's not what you did. It's what the team you live and die for, the New York Knickerbockers,
that's right,
is reportedly interested in. I'll start with you, Manny, because I know EJ has strong thoughts too. What did you think when you saw the headline that the Knicks are interested in Dawn Staley as their potential head coach?
The first memes that I saw online in which it was Dawn Staley just yelling at one of her players after, whatever happened, and the caption was, after Karl Anthony picks up his 5th foul. There is a little bit of caution. I don't know. Listen, again, I'm at the point where I'll take whoever you guys give me. I'm already drawn out. I'm tired out of this coaching search. I'll just take whatever. Just give me whatever, man. I'm tired of this.
EJ, what do you think of Dawn Staley possibly being in the mix for the Knicks head coach?
I love Dawn Staley. This is a terrible idea.
Terrible fit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to bring Dawn Staley to the NBA, this is not where you do it.
No. I mean, the reality of the Knicks situation is this is a team that fired a very successful head coach that is in a win-now mode with a team that we are still not sure is functionally stable enough to win a title based on the pieces that they have together. You don't drop a person who's never coached men, who's never coached in the NBA
and the pros,
and now will be making history and say, all right, this is the spot to do this. Dawn Staley is a phenomenal basketball coach, and I really hope if she wants to coach in the NBA or coach men that she gets that opportunity because she's certainly deserving. This is just not smart from the Knicks standpoint. If she wants a job, then that's great for her, and she should be interested. That's fine. But for the Knicks, this is not the spot where you experiment. That's not where you're going here. So I don't like this. I know she has a relationship with Rick Brunson, which I think is why maybe she got this call from the Knicks.
What the Philly thing?
She coached Temple. He went to Temple. She's from Philly. Mm-hmm. So that's there's a lot of South Jersey connections, obviously, with the Brunson family. So that I think is where the connections are happening. But there's just so much that she would have to overcome in order to make this work. She could be successful, and the Knicks still fire her, or she still ends up failing because the bar is so high right now for New York.
Well, let me ask you this. It's been a month or so since Tom Thibodeau got fired? Nationally, a lot of people are wondering, it looks like the Knicks don't know what they're doing. They fired a guy who got them to the Eastern Conference Finals and don't have a clear path or any real idea what they're doing. How do you counter that as a Knicks fan?
I counter that in that they had a plan that did not work, and now they're pivoting. Like, their plan was to poach potentially one of these other coaches who was on another team, who maybe was disillusioned by another team. Maybe their contract situation.
Like Jason Kidd, for example?
Yeah, Jason Kidd being the main guy. I think that's definitely the guy they want. And look, he still doesn't have a contract extension, and there's still this kind of question of what is exactly going on there. So maybe they were onto something and thinking maybe something was wrong in Dallas. And they had a plan, didn't work, and now they're pivoting. And they're going through an extensive search where I think they're trying to get as much information as possible. People forget, when they hired Tom Thibodeau, I think they interviewed like 10 people. We only forget that because we all assumed that Tom Thibodeau was going to be the guy at the end. So when we think about the Knicks and how they've operated under Leon Rose, they've only had one other coaching search, and it was a very extensive search.
Right, but EJ,
this is how they operate.
NBA free agency starts in a matter of 10 hours. And they still don't have an NBA head coach. They had a draft without a coach. They're doing official team business without a coach. Just stinks of ineptitude.
I get that, but the reality, though, is, Manny, in the draft, you had the 50th pick. So you're not drafting a player who's likely going to be a major factor for you. And the Knicks are just like a few pennies short of the second apron. So the Knicks also are coming into this offseason where I don't think you're expecting them to make massive moves. I think what you see is what you get. So whoever they hire as head coach, I don't think they're coming in and they're going to be coaching a wildly different team. So I don't think it really matters with free agency or the draft so much for them not to have a coach. If this was a team that was going to be changing the entire roster and had a top 10 pick or a first round pick, then yeah, maybe I'd be more concerned. But that 50th pick was not going to be a factor over the Knicks next year anyway.
I think they need to fill out that second unit. And I think having a head coach to fill out that second unit would be instrumental.
What if Rich Paul, LeBron's agent, calls Leon Rose behind the scenes and says, hey, LeBron really wants to play in New York before he retires? Is the fact that there's not a coach, I mean, this is a hypothetical, and maybe it's hard to work out anyway, but I kind of agree with Manny. Like, it feels a little too unsettled to even be in the LeBron mix.
Well, to me, to be honest, them not having a head coach maybe actually makes them a better fit for LeBron.
Yeah,
because LeBron is not Mr. Coach guy, right? Like, he's the coach on the floor. He's the guy who will get rid of a coach in 0.5 seconds if he could. So I think in many ways that may interest LeBron that they don't have a coach, so he can maybe influence them in who they hire.
What happened to Johnny Bryant, by the way, who's
I
think
don't understand this either. We don't. No Knicks fan knows why he's not getting a fair look. If there's any complaint I have about the Knicks coaching search, is that Johnny Bryant is not getting a fair shake when it comes to this.
Yeah. By the way, Johnny Bryant, a year younger than LeBron. All right. Coming up next, we'll get more into the Mount Olympus. And where will LeBron go if not the Knicks? Maggie and Perloff Show.
Let's go, Knicks!
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. Maggie is out, EJ is in, and EJ is going to be in the Maggie role right now. And you know what that means. You're going to have to defend LeBron James.
Okay.
It's one of the, it comes down to the cliched Jordan versus LeBron debate. And the latest from LeBron James, and I don't want to come off as harsh because I like LeBron. I would love to sit on a couch and watch an NFL game with him. I think he's hysterically funny. I think he's obviously the second greatest player of all time. I don't think there's any debate. Early LeBron highlights are fantastic, but he is being a hypocrite lately. And hypocrisy annoys me for many, many reasons. There's a lot of things he's doing.
Okay.
Most recently, he went on his podcast with Steve Nash and complained about ring culture. He said that people weigh championships way too much in legacy. And now he opts in with the Lakers yesterday, $52 million. And his agent, Rich Paul, tells ESPN that we're not sure that the Lakers are doing enough to win a championship, and LeBron wants to compete for a championship before he retires. That's one thing about hypocrisy. The other, he forced them to draft Bronny James, and then he's going to leave them to chase a ring. That sounds mean, but that's reality. The other thing, too, I was thinking back to the Stephen A thing. Now, this might sound weird.
Okay.
He came after Stephen A, and he's like, how dare you are critical of me as a father.
Yes.
But, and I understand why LeBron's doing it. I'm crazy about my kids, too. But I just feel like he's weighing in waters. He forced the team to draft this kid, basically. They obviously would not have drafted Bronny James where they did if LeBron James wasn't in there. So I think the fact that he's leaving them now makes him more open to criticism about how that whole situation was handled. And that he's going out there and really, I thought, crossed the line by trying to physically intimidate Stephen A. Smith. It was totally unnecessary. I thought it was out of character. I just didn't like anything about it. And now there's kind of a cold war between Stephen A. and LeBron.
Cold war is one way, but I think it's a warm war.
Yeah, I mean, as recently as last week, Stephen A. was talking about LeBron, saying he didn't like him. I feel like LeBron, on one hand, does not like to be criticized. On the other, he wants to weigh in on everything. That is his problem. He just wants to be in the conversation on everything, and he comments on everything, and that's where he gets into trouble. I think that you're going to use his own words against him time and time again if he keeps on saying things, and then he doesn't act the same way.
But I think the problem that I would have, and I think LeBron would have, is what he says all the time is that the media and the conversations around him as a athlete and him as an outspoken athlete are what we actually take from him in correct context. Because when he talked about the ring culture thing on the Mind the Game podcast with Steve Nash, he was mentioning names like Charles Barkley, Allen Iverson, Steve Nash, Peyton Manning, Barry Bonds. He mentioned about 5 or 6 different athletes, guys who have rings, guys who never got a ring. And he was suggesting that it doesn't make sense that these great, great players are not celebrated the way he feels like they should because they simply don't have the most rings or don't have any rings.
But he also mentioned himself, didn't he?
Right, at the very end. And
we all think when LeBron is talking about them, he's secretly talking about himself because he's obsessed with the legacy versus Jordan. And he is. You know he's obsessed with that.
But he shouldn't be disqualified from giving his opinion on how we view sports because he's in a sport. That doesn't make any sense.
Those names, who doesn't celebrate Allen Iverson? That's the other thing I didn't understand about. Who doesn't celebrate Peyton Manning?
Well, no, I think if you try to make a case that Allen Iverson's one of the 15 greatest players, someone would yell at you. So if you try to say Peyton Manning was the greatest quarterback, somebody would yell at you. I think
because he's not. And Allen Iverson is probably, 23 or something on the all-time list? But people celebrate Allen Iverson and Peyton Manning all the time.
Yeah, but there are a lot of people, and again, this is maybe where you're talking about someone who lives on the internet maybe too much. There are just as many people who will, especially NBA nerds, because I deal with them all the time, who will tell you, Allen Iverson, his efficiency wasn't good and his field goal percentage and blah, 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 blah. Like, they do all this other crap without really understanding the context of how basketball was played at that time or the sport, or his point about Dan Marino when he's like, this guy was one of the greatest slingers of the football in all time. That was his words. And yet, when we talk about him among the greatest, it's got to be, well, he didn't get rings. It's like, well, we know the context of why he didn't have a ring. So that's my point, is he was trying to make a point that was larger than him, but because of just how we contextualize LeBron James, we make it all about him. So he's in a situation where he's accurately saying that we weigh rings more than anything else, and he has said plenty of times that he wants to be considered the greatest player of all time. He feels like the only way he can do that is to get more rings. So I have no issue with him wanting to leave the Lakers.
We forced him into leaving L.A. to chase rings. We did it. That's what you're sort of implying. Like, it feels like he's embracing that same philosophy that I need rings for my legacy. Like, I want
no choice, because it's at the end of the day, what you're right about is this is all about the court of public opinion, and public opinion is that he is not the greatest of all time among most people, and that the main reason why is because of championships.
Okay,
that's the first thing that everybody will point to when you compare him to Michael Jordan. So if he wants to be the greatest, is he going to not play by the rules of the game?
That is not actually, in my opinion, like, it doesn't matter that Jordan won 6 because Bill Russell won way more than Jordan.
Right.
Robert Horry won more. It's not about the rings. It's the fact that Jordan single-handedly carried them. Then LeBron had to join a super team, and then he won a bubble one. Like, it's also the quality of rings, which is a big issue, too. It's not just any rings.
But then when we say that he beat a 73-win team and that he...
Yeah, because there was Draymond kicked the guy in the you-know-what.
But Draymond was part of that team. So, like, he beat a 73-win team. He came back from 3-1, and Jordan had never beat a team as good as that Warriors team to win a championship. Then the value of the ring doesn't matter. So that's where I think, again, this conversation does feel like, when we talk about hypocrisy, there's a hypocrisy everywhere.
A lot of those teams,
first
Jordan,
is the value of the ring when it comes to Jordan because he never left. But then we talk about strength of opponent when it comes to LeBron. That doesn't matter.
The strength of opponent, Jordan's teams he beat were great.
None of them were as good as the Warriors. None of them.
I don't know. Prime Jazz with Greg Ostertag. Honestly, that team in the 90s. This
man said Greg Ostertag in front of my face. And
in the 90s.
Take him seriously about talking about the Warriors.
In the 90s, that Jazz team obviously would have whooped the Warriors because that was 90s basketball.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because I don't think the Warriors, they would have gotten beaten up. Like, there's no way they could have gotten all of those shots.
Jeff Hornacek was their second best scorer. The Warriors would have smoked them. Are you actually serious with that?
No, like the Warriors, Klay Thompson and Steph Curry would have gotten mauled.
By Jeff Hornacek? What are we talking about?
Like, by everybody. Everybody would have been physical and hand-checked them and been all over them. The defense was different.
See, this is why the conversation is when we talk about the NBA and why the current players get so frustrated. Those guys couldn't shoot, okay? So, so in a situation where we're talking about...
Yeah, because the defense was different. You got hand checks so badly out there. There's no way you could do all that stuff.
No,
you can't dribble around
if you ever watch an NBA game, these guys are being left wide open behind the three-point line, and they're just not shooting because those are the shots they're hunting. The Warriors changed basketball because they started hunting threes in ways that no one else were because they saw that it was a statistical advantage.
But you didn't think the Utah Jazz with Stockton and Malone were great?
No.
Oh, my God, that team was amazing.
Oh.
You
guys
think
that
team was great?
No, I think that Utah team was pretty good. I don't think they're beating the Warriors.
I mean, they won in the mid-60s. Like, they would have been right there. That was a great team. That wasn't just a good team. That was a great team.
I mean, we could talk about, I could talk about the history.
I mean, if the Bulls weren't there, that Jazz team definitely would have won. Like, they were really deep, really well coached.
Really deep. I'm sorry.
Wait, what are you guys talking about? Like, that's not a bad team. That was a really, really good team.
I agree with you.
They had 3 guys that averaged double figures. You know that, right?
They whooped, the really, really, Hakeem and Barkley and all those guys. I took them out. First of all, that Jazz team is not, nobody doesn't consider that a great team.
They were a very good team. They went to the finals. What I'm saying, though, is that, again, you're comparing them to a team that won 73 games. Literally, the only team that won close to that was Michael's Bulls.
But the Jazz had 2 of the top 20 players of all time, or 25 players of all time.
Right, and then Greg Ostertag.
No,
The Warriors also have
players that they had.
The Warriors also have 2 of the best top 20 players that's ever played in the game as well.
Yeah, but their style, like Klay and Steph, I don't know what they would have been in the 90s. Like, they would have, it would have been a way different thing. It was just not that, you couldn't really play that style of basketball. And nobody did it. Maybe it was because they didn't know how yet. But I think part of the reason was because the defense was so physically aggressive.
Both
in the
of you
90s.
guys are right. The Jazz in the 90s, it was a hell of a team.
Yeah, of course.
They're not beating the Warriors in the mid-2000 Warriors, mid-2010
No,
Warriors.
but if the 2015 Warriors were in 1998, like I'm telling you,
they're washing the Jazz.
The Curry rules would have been like they would have put Curry on his butt.
Who's guarding Curry on that team? 35-year-old John Stockton?
Brian Russell would have. Brian Russell's elbows led. Like you could just be much more aggressively.
Brian
defensive.
Russell is.
He's a good player too. He was a really good player.
The frustration on EJ is
I don't
actually
even know
rather
what to
comical.
say. I don't know how we got to this. I'm the hate to be that guy because I respect the 90s. That's when I started watching basketball. I think to say that the Warriors were a much better team than the teams that Michael Jordan beat in the finals. To me, I thought we would go to the Suns. They were a way better team than this Jazz team. I mean, the Suns, that team had depth. That team had multiple All-Stars.
I mean,
that team, the Jazz were a two-man team. And then a bunch of defenders. They were not a very good offensive team. They were a defensive team.
I think you're misreading that Jazz team. There are a lot of good players on that team. Like really, like they were up and down. Like
Brian Russell, Adam Keefe, Howard Isley.
Keefe was more of a role player.
Howard Isley
could ball. What was wrong with him?
I covered his son playing high school
Howard
basketball.
Isley played for the Knicks. He was okay.
He's a good player.
He's a backup point guard.
By the way, there's a guy on this team.
His
Ruben
son goes to Michigan now.
Nembhard. Is that? Oh, okay.
I just don't. I don't know. I mean, the Jazz, they won a lot of games. They had a phenomenal coach, and they had 2 Hall of Fame players. I didn't look at this team.
No, but the whole team
and thought that they were this dominant, deep team. That's not. And I don't.
And how'd they win 64 games? How'd they beat Akeem and all those other teams? How'd they beat?
Karl Malone and John Stockton were phenomenal. They were 2 of the greatest players of all time. They were. When we talk about the Jazz, we say Stockton, Malone. We don't say, oh, that Jazz depth. That's not how the conversation is when we talk about those Jazz teams.
And who do we talk about with the Warriors?
We talk about their depth all the time.
Wait, but what are the names?
Call them the depth
what
lineup.
are the names on the Warriors? You talk about
Andre Iguodala, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, Sean Livingston, like
okay,
who I saw by the way.
Sean Livingston was huge for the Warriors in the 2010s.
Sean Livingston's better than most of the guys you were talking about. Howard Isley, what are you talking about?
Like, is Sean Livingston was better than I'm looking at like obviously Chris Morris was really good. You think Sean Livingston was better than Brian Russell?
Definitely.
Chris Morris was. Wait. These guys are all like good players. What are you laughing at? You probably never even saw any of these guys play in your life.
No, I'm laughing at EJ's frustration. He keeps looking over at me like saying, "Can you believe what Perloff is saying right now?" That's why I'm laughing.
This was a really good team. Like they were awesome.
And I agree with you.
Yeah. They were 64-18 in a very competitive West and took the Bulls to 6 games. And by the way, that Suns team was really good. That Blazers team was really, really good. The Lakers team was good, although Magic wasn't 100%.
Yeah, Magic was hurt.
And that Sonics team, that team was fire. I mean, you have Kemp, Peyton, Schrempf. I think you had Sleepy Sam on that team.
Yeah.
You
team,
were.
Nate McMillan.
I mean, there was a lot of talent on these teams. That
I think you named multiple teams that I think were better than the Jazz.
The Jazz were definitely, in my mind, the best of those teams. Because Karl Malone was.
I love to put that.
Karl Malone was a force of nature.
Can you put that poll of Manny? Can you put the '93 Suns, the '96 Sonics, I'll give you both '97 and '98 Jazz. Put them in one, and then let's do the '91 Lakers and say who's the best team out of this group. I don't think any. I think the Utah Jazz come in at third.
93 Suns, 96 Sonics.
90. Let's do 91 Lakers, and then let's do the 97-98 Jazz.
Okay, well, obviously the 98 Jazz pushed the Bulls farther than anybody because they got to the last shot of Game 6. I believe I have the right years.
No,
was that the 97?
The Suns did. The Suns also went to a last shot. It just wasn't Jordan. It was John Paxson.
I just think that Karl Malone, you're way underestimating
I am not.
Karl Malone.
I keep talking about how great they were. I keep saying the reason why I think they were great was because of 2 guys. It wasn't that they were this massively deep
But
team.
I do think you're underestimating the style play back then. And one of the reasons, Steph Curry is also a result of changes in the rules. It's not as easy for non-muscular guards to impact the game. It was so physical back then. First of all, Jordan and Pippen and all those guys and Harper would have just, if they had to, locked him down. And they would have put him on his butt. Really, I'm being serious. This is not a hot take. They would have hit that guy so much more than you were allowed to in the 2010s.
How am I wording this poll?
Who's the best team out of this group? Out of these,
it's going to be the dad bod gods.
Out of Jordan's opponents, who's the best team? At Jordan's finals opponents, who do you think was the best team? I'm curious where the Jazz land. I don't think they'll be first.
Yeah, they were, but okay, maybe that Suns team because they had Barkley and were so famous. Honestly, they had and they had Dumas, who was awesome, and
the Suns, that
they had
team
Marley.
was loaded.
But I mean,
that was a legitimate great team.
But I think as a team, the way the Jazz played, like they were like they knew what they were doing really, really well.
I think
they were innovators in the pick and roll. They were a good fast-paced team, and they had Karl Malone.
Right, but like
Karl Malone was actually in a weird way better than Barkley, although I would take Barkley.
Malone was a monster. I get that he was the MVP of the league. Like I think you're focused on me saying that they weren't that deep, which I don't think they are. I think their superstar players, Stockton and Malone, were amazing. But I'm talking about a Warriors team again that won 73 games. That was not slouches. Like this is a deep roster. Andrew Bogusch, the former #1 pick. Sean Livingston, the top 4 pick. Leandro Barbosa is the NBA champion. This was a deep team. This was not some team that was just Steph Curry and a bunch of plumbers. That's not how this went. So when we talk about LeBron James and we talk about his legacy, that's why it feels like
those guys were good. Those guys were good because they were in the Warriors system. Like I'm telling you,
Leandro Barbosa won a champion. Was playing superstar. Well, not superstar, but he was a star player for the Suns. I mean, Sean Livingston was a lottery pick.
You put a guy like I'm taking like Shannon Anderson, like he was a good player. I mean, you'd think he wasn't, I guess, but if you put him,
played for the Knicks. Howard Isley and Shannon, I watched them play.
Yeah, Shannon
when
Anderson
they were outside, they were system players. When they went outside,
so you could have brought them to the Warriors and made them good too. That's what I'm saying. Like these guys are all good because of the Warriors system. Like these are not like Sean Livingston. was obviously
Andre Iguodala's been good everywhere he's been. Harrison Barnes has been good everywhere he's been. Most of these guys we're talking about have been. Andrew Bogut was a good player before he got to Golden State. You can't find, besides Hornacek, who was a star in Phoenix and a star in Philly, but this was the end of his career. Find me the other Utah Jazz member on those teams that had big numbers anywhere else, or was even a starter anywhere else.
I just like I personally think the Jazz were a team first. Like they had Stockton, Malone, Hornacek, Russell, Ostertag. Ostertag was a perfect 90 center. Like you're just filling some space there because you didn't have to have a super skilled guy.
You have Greg Ostertag. I have a former #1 pick in the draft.
Who, Andrew Bogut?
Yeah, I mean, what do we like? I don't know how that's comparable.
Oh yeah, I mean, what do you think that battle would have looked like? They would have just like that. Nobody would have even been watching Bogut versus Ostertag. That'd be two afterthoughts.
No, but I mean, Andrew Bogut actually was a great passer, and he was great. He was a perfect fit for that system. And again, a much higher talent than Greg Ostertag. Greg Ostertag was just he was a goon center. He wasn't like a. We're not talking about this was the age of centers, by the way. This is when you're talking about Hakeem and Patrick Ewing is still playing, David Robinson, Tim.
Yeah,
Duncan,
but like, why would any of those guys you had Karl Malone? There's not gonna be any touches for any of those guys anyway. Ostertag was totally fine. Like that was not like a weakness of that team. Anyway, this is a ridiculous debate too because this is a long time ago. Okay,
but it's all relevant because we're talking about LeBron versus Mike, which is always what it comes down to. And I think again, when we talk about ring culture, this is what we're talking about because we're going down to the minutia of who was the 7th guy on the Utah Jazz bench. Like LeBron feels this heat, so when he talks about that ring culture is such a big burden and everyone cares about it so much, we're proving it right here. So I don't have an issue with LeBron talking about ring culture the way he did, and then also saying, "Hey, I need to get somewhere else to get a ring." That's just the reality of the situation.
No. See, again, like I think you're wildly underestimating the legacies of some of these players. Like I think Karl Malone's legacy is pretty darn good, and obviously you think that Jazz team was garbage. I
didn't say that.
But I just think I think you don't understand how good that team was. Anyway,
I think you don't. I was going to say I'm talking about how great Karl Malone was. I think he carried them. I think him and John Stockton.
I mean, to win 64. No, I mean I don't. I think that team was deeper than you think. To win 64 games in that West was impressive. To go 6 games with that Bulls team, impressive to me. And I don't think like Allen Iverson's legacy is just fine without a ring. I think everyone. I mean, listen. The other day, the commissioner Adam Silver said we're going to use AI to combat injuries, and about 1 million people put out the meme of Allen Iverson looking at an X-ray. Like everyone knows who Allen Iverson is. And Dan Marino, it's like, oh, Dan Marino's he's like number 5 on the all-time list, and Peyton Manning's like number 4 on the all-time list. Like I don't even know what LeBron's talking about there. Like everybody knows who Peyton Manning is, and we all think he's great.
Yeah, but what are we doing though?
But nobody thinks he's better than Tom Brady.
No, but we have people and pundits saying that Giannis is a disappointment if he doesn't win 2 rings. And Jokic's career may be a disappointment if they don't win more than 1 ring. Like that's what he's talking about. There are guys who we're not appreciating their greatness, and we're saying guys that won titles or guys who don't. We had a long conversation about James Harden, who has phenomenal numbers, but we don't give him any. But and like, see, I knew he was going to do that because that's exactly the point.
Phenomenal numbers, like
he does. He does. I mean, you're talking about Greg Ostertag and how great he is. And I'm telling you, and you're laughing about James Harden like that.
I said rather have Ostertag because Ostertag is at least not going to clog up the rest of the team. Anyway, have James Harden all you want. Take James Harden, go out in the second round, enjoy. I do not want that guy on my team ever. I'll take a Greg Ostertag. Obviously, it's like not everybody is going to be a star. First of all, Karl Malone and John Stockton are going to generate the entire whatever. I'm not even doing this. You don't understand, too, in the 90s. You think Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are running around as the Splash Brothers? They're splashing because their butt is hitting the ground when somebody forearms them in the face and the official doesn't see it. Because that's what the NBA in the 90s was. I was there. I was playing for Pat Riley. No, I wasn't. But I was watching it. Trust me. Like
it was a different Pat Riley who was from Northwest Philly.
To think that the Warriors were not also a function of different emphasis of the rules, to me, is naive. But we have to focus on Denver here. Mount Olympus, 4 sports guys from every major sports city. Denver today, I went with John Elway, Nikola Jokic, Joe Sakic, and Terrell Davis. Maggie, EJ?
Maggie has John Elway and Joe Sakic as well, but she added Patrick Waugh and Von Miller.
I can't believe Tim Tebow got snubbed like this.
Tebow did win a playoff game.
That's right.
We were all there.
Overtime.
Yeah.
That did happen.
System quarterback. Unfortunately, no one ever found a system for him after Urban Meyer in Florida.
The system was AA baseball.
All right. See you on the phone lines. We want to hear from you. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. If you want to support my Mount Olympus or dunk on Maggie's Mount Olympus, give us a call. That's next, Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. Got a little sidetrack there with a sort of 90s versus 2010s NBA debate. I was saying that people Michael Jordan beat were good. EJ was saying that, I think you were kind of saying what the Warriors and LeBron's Cavs had to go through was tougher.
Yeah, my thing was that like we talk about strength of rings, so Michael did it all with one team and did three-piece, which is fair. But when we talk about strength of finals, when it comes to LeBron being a team that's better than any team that Michael beat, then he doesn't get that same love because the Warriors won 73 games.
That was one title, though. Yeah,
right. That was one title, but I'm talking about all the teams that were beaten. If you put all the losers in the LeBron and LeBron and Jordan finals, the Warriors are clearly the best team.
Oh yeah, I will give you that. I'm just saying that there was a lot of tons of Hall of Famers lost to Jordan in the finals. Where
sure.
The LeBron Cavs that the Warriors beat multiple times were kind of thin.
Well, no, the Warriors, the team that LeBron beat, you have 3 Hall of Famers.
Yeah, that team was great, and I was just as shocked as everyone else that they pulled that comeback.
Right. So I think when we talk about
that was a great title, I'll give you that. But I thought Curry maybe a little bit off. He had missed a series in that playoffs with a knee injury, and Draymond screwed that up big time.
Yeah, but that's fair.
We don't talk about the Raptors that is a great all-time team because they beat the KD Warriors because that was injuries.
No, that's fine. But, I mean, Steph Curry played, right? And we all know all teams are dealing with some injuries. And we don't talk about how Michael's first ring, he beat a Lakers team that was deeply diminished because Mike Johnson he shouldn't have been out there. He was dealing with a massive injury, a massive thigh injury. So, again, because we have the gift of time, like LeBron titles are more recent, it's a lot easier to pick holes in them. And we don't do the full context when it comes to Mike.
I just think the league was a little more, I don't know, consistently top-heavy then. I mean, Mike beat Magic Johnson, Clyde Drexler, Charles Barkley, beat Ewing a lot in the playoffs, beat Karl Malone, beat the Kemp Payton team. I mean, like, these are household names.
Yeah, and LeBron was beat Steph Curry.
Just stop with that one.
He beat the Spurs with Kawhi Leonard, Tony Parker, and Tim Duncan. In the playoffs, he kept Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett from winning titles. Like, this idea that LeBron was beating nobodies is also not true. He was beating great teams and great players as well.
I mean, people give LeBron a lot of credit for the 2007 regular finals. I mean, Dwight Howard took the Magic the next year. The East was in a bit of a valley. Whatever. We're not going to do LeBron Jordan right now, EJ. We're not doing it. We'll just be here all day. We have to do Denver, Mount Olympus. Let's go to Dominic in San Francisco. Dominic, you've been pretty consistent with some outside-the-box choices. Who do you got for Denver, Mount Olympus for sports gods?
Good morning, Mr. Perloff. Thank you for taking my call.
All right, what do you got?
I've got, of course, John Elway. I've got the other part of Elway that you needed on there, too. I got Dan Reeves.
Dan Reeves over Mike Shanahan?
Yes.
You got to go
without a
Shanahan
doubt.
because of the ring.
Shanahan has a problem, and I don't want to go into psychological stuff. Dan Reeves, John Elway. I've got the Joker because I don't think he's going to fall off the map. He will be a god forever there. And then I've got, before there was the Joker, I've got David Thompson.
Oh, Skywalker, the best.
Damn right. David Thompson. For the musical guest, this was easy. I got John Denver. The only other one I could think of was Firefall.
Firefall.
And for the hottie, the only one I could come up with, I think her name was Jessica Cavallari. She was, the way she melds in there, she was married for a while to Jay Cutler.
Okay. Kristen, yeah.
Cavallari.
But who's known, and thank you, Dominic, who's known more for the Orange County Mount Olympus of Sports Gods from the Rizzle show. And I don't think she was she with Jay when he was in Denver? We'd have to check on when that
Definitely not.
couple happened.
That's a Chicago thing.
Yeah.
Can we give Bogusch is here? How about Nathaniel Rateliff, a little Denver shout out, big Denver musician.
There you go.
But John Denver, I think, would win that one. And by the
I
way,
don't know. He's full of you know what.
Where's the John Denver music? You don't like John Denver?
The Rocky Mountains aren't that rocky.
What do you mean?
That's a Dumb and Dumber line.
Oh, okay. I'm not a huge Dumb and Dumber like encyclopedic knowledge. I've seen it and I liked it. But anyway.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier. I don't know if you asked me or Maggie asked me, but yeah, I didn't watch Dumb and Dumber like that. I watched Dumb and Dumber.
No, there's a million people who quote Dumb and Dumber like it's the gospel, and I get it. I have no problem with that.
By the way, Kristen Cavallari was born in Denver.
Yeah. Also, John Denver never lived in Colorado.
Really?
Yeah.
That can't be right.
He was born in New Mexico, grew up in Tucson, and also spent time in Montgomery, Alabama, and Fort Worth.
But why is his last name Denver, Manny?
Because I guess Henry John Deutschendorf Jr. didn't sell enough records.
I searched here Denver music artists because I knew this was going to be a tough one. For some reason, Earth, Wind, and Fire come up, but
we already had Philip Bailey from Chicago.
I know, but then I see here that he also may have been from Denver as well. Should we have been playing Earth, Wind, and Fire all day today? Did we set that up somehow?
No, we should have been playing Rocky Mountain High.
Oh yeah, that's.
Also, I've seen the Lumineers are from Denver.
They're good too.
Kind of tracks.
Yeah.
Denver is more like how would you describe? What do you describe that kind of music as? Modern folk rock.
Yeah, folk rock sounds
hippie-ish.
I mean, that more Lumineers. Yeah, I don't. Nathaniel Rateliff is more
blues.
Yeah, and rock.
Blues are right. So
louder than folk music.
There's that theater there, the Red Rocks.
Red Rocks.
I have not been.
I really
would
want
love to go.
Yeah. Logic, the rapper, he's doing a concert there in October. And I really want to maybe go.
It sounds really beautiful to be there in October. That'd be super cool. It's Red Rocks performed outside of the amphitheater, I believe. I haven't been. Denver's an amazing town.
By the way, just the caller mentioning David Thompson, we want to talk about a throwback. That's a great call. I just don't know if we talk about the Denver Nuggets players. I don't know if he's number 2. As great as he was, am I putting him over Alex
Jokic
English?
won, Alex English.
And am I putting him over Melo? And I'm putting him over Jamal Murray, who now also has a ring.
Yeah, Jamal Murray's going to get some love there.
Tough one.
I told you guys, we've talked about this before. When I was driving around Denver with a friend, he told me it was the #1 swinger city in America.
Oh, yes, we did talk about this.
And there's very much around the color of your mailbox. I don't know if that's true.
And Pete said it was because of marijuana, which there's no way that's a reason why.
It's the greenest city in America. There's no doubt about that. They were, I would say, on the cutting edge of legalizing marijuana.
Oh, I thought you were talking about carbon footprints.
No. Yeah, they're also good at that, I imagine.
It's a different kind of Green New Deal, man.
It's a very outdoorsy city. And I think pro athletes like it because you can golf a lot there. Because even when it snows, like 3 days later, the snow's gone and you can golf. Anyway, that's my take on Denver.
Expert take.
Yeah. I've been there probably 5 times. I know Denver. I've been to the Broncos facility a bunch of times.
Use code Perloff at TripAdvisor.com.
Yeah, no, I've never been, for whatever reason, never been to Boulder. And that is my fault because that place people love. We did not put Deion Sanders in this list for Denver or any Colorado Buffalo.
Well, I saw some people mention Chauncey Billups. He's a Denver native. Played at Colorado, #3 pick in the draft. Great, and he was a Nugget too. A very good Nugget. Great player. I don't know if he makes Mount Olympus, but worth a mention since he's a native.
Well, yeah. Now, how far did Chauncey get in the tournament at Colorado? I know he was a star.
I don't think they went very far, but he was a star there, though.
Jog my memory. Who was the guy in the city that Maggie picked? Gary Payton for Oregon State.
Yes. How could you forget that, man? How could you forget that?
Oh, Maggie, you've just consistently given us entertainment with your Mount Olympus choices.
She's actually not on vacation right now. She's at Mount Olympus rehab, learning how to.
No, I mean, listen, she's had a lot of good choices, but sometimes she's like, you know what? I think it'd be more interesting to pick this random guy from an hour and a half outside Portland, even though he belongs strongly on the Seattle list, our Portland Trailblazers' main rival, by the way, and very strongly on the Oakland list. But and by the way, I said, I'm sorry, I'm going to do this, Maggie. Maggie, we love you to death. But you did say when I said Damian Lillard for Portland, you said he's more associated with Oakland, a town where in Oakland, went to Gary Payton's basketball camp because Gary Payton organizes the entire Oakland youth community. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm done. Bogusch, give us some headlines.
No, you're not done.
LeBron remains a Laker, but for how much longer is the question. James exercising his $52 million option for next season, but not another multi-year agreement. And the attached statement from agent Rich Paul discusses LeBron's desire to win now and the Lakers' desire to build long-term. So maybe we're close to a trade demand or just LeBron going elsewhere a year from now. James Harden, meanwhile, declining a $36 million option with the Clippers to sign a fresh 2-year deal worth $81 million. The Blazers are expected to buy out center DeAndre Ayton. Bobby Portis will re-sign with the Bucks, 3 years and $44 million. And veteran reporter Mark Stein reporting that D'Angelo Russell will sign a 2-year, $12 million deal with the Mavericks. But as others on Twitter have pointed out, there's no way this should be able to be reported right now since the negotiating window hasn't opened yet.
Well, so it only cost them 2 second-round picks.
Exactly.
There you go.
There's also Malik Beasley, the Pistons guard under federal investigation after at least one sportsbook noticed odd wagering on prop bets involving Beasley. The first questionable game was apparently in January 2024 when Beasley was playing for the Bucks. His lawyer pointing out, quote, an investigation is not a charge.
I wonder which sportsbook raised the red flag.
Ooh, what do you mean?
I mean, it says here, one sportsbook noticed odd wagering on prop bets involving Beasley. So, I mean, was it DraftKings that noticed it? Was it FanDuel that noticed it?
I think you're the only person wondering that
Me
about
too,
the story.
Yeah,
Agreed.
Yeah, I wish I could.
I like your random curiosity. Okay, all right.
I'm like, okay.
Back to me, okay.
Why would they do that?
Did you just go windy fingers right
yeah, big time. Why would they do that? Why would FanDuel do that?
Windy fingers and mom.
I was going to save it to the end of the update, but I did just look on the Country Music Hall of Fame website, and John Denver lived in Aspen, Colorado from 1997 until his death. But, man, he said he never lived in Colorado. Anyway, please go ahead.
Man, he's having a bad day.
What were you talking about? He's lived in Colorado for a long time, according to this.
Is it AI overview?
No, it's at countrymusichallofFame.org. It's a .org, for God's sake.
I don't trust your sources.
U.S. men's soccer surviving PKs with Costa Rica to make the Gold Cup Final Four. Matt Freese, 3 saves during that shootout.
Penalties are my thing. I've been the plane ride over here to Minnesota. I was studying the penalties, and so I've been studying them all week and was ready for it if we needed it.
That's Freese.
Don't trust his sources either.
Post-match on Fox. After his 3rd save, Damian Downs scored to end things. The U.S. now faces Guatemala in the semifinals on Wednesday in St. Louis. Tigers lefty Tarek Skubal struck out 5 of his first 6 Twins on Sunday Night Baseball in Detroit. At one point, he K'd 7 of them in a row, 13 total punch-outs over 7, just 93 pitches needed. He walked 1, allowed 1 hit, and his Tigers took the rubber game 3-0 from Minnesota.
Wait, they pulled him after 7 innings and only 93 pitches?
Yeah.
Ugh, I hate baseball.
Caitlin Clark in a non-upset, receiving the most votes for the WNBA All-Star Game in her arena on July 19th. She and Afisa Collier are team captains. The other 8 starters are revealed tonight. The expansion Valkyries, an 84-57 rout of the Storm last night. Golden State's won 4-5 overall and is now 7-3 at home. And Angel Reese, 24 points, 16 rebounds in the Sky's 92-85 win in L.A. She is now the first in league history 4 straight games of 15 or more rebounds.
Okay, quick question off this. And EJ, you followed the W pretty closely. Is she obviously going to be the greatest rebounder in league history? It doesn't seem like there's any doubt about that.
Obviously, I don't know about obviously, but she definitely is tracking there for sure.
She's in her second year and is breaking every possible record.
Yeah, I mean, she's right now the best rebounder in the WNBA, and assuming she doesn't fall off or her role doesn't change, I expect her to be the best rebounder as long as she's healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I think more shots go up, so that helps her. But who's the best rebounder? Is it obvious who the best rebounder of all time in the NBA is? Because I would think one name comes to mind, even though the numbers don't necessarily always tell that story.
Yeah, numbers are probably. I mean, the name is probably Rodman.
Rodman, yeah. I mean, the old numbers like Wilt and Russell would average 25 rebounds a game because nobody could shoot back then. But
also, they were like the tallest guys in the court.
They were playing against guys who were 5'11".
They're playing against each other for one thing, but not every night.
That's what 6-7 times a year.
But I think so. Yeah, I just thought, to me, Angel Reese, she's just set another massive WNBA rebounding record already in her second year. First person to have 15 boards, 4 games in a row ever. So she's clearly headed that way to me.
And it's, again, we discussed this last year with Caitlin Clark, too. A lot of these records you'd think would have already existed.
Yeah, like she was the first person with 2 triple-doubles or something?
Right.
Like,
a lot of weird ones as if they were never good players before in this league.
Well, it's just the pace of play has increased. I'm looking at you, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, there's a pace of play deal. I think that there are more shots going up, so that's a big deal. I think, if you watch WNBA from 20 years ago, the game is far more advanced than it is now. Or rather, it's more advanced now than it was back then.
Yeah.
So I think that some of these stats are essentially, people facing, approaching new frontiers when it comes to just what they're able to do on a basketball court. These scores are way higher right now. Again, the pace is much faster. So that's going to contribute to some of this. But I think the bigger thing about Reese is beyond even the rebounding numbers, she's finally starting to score more efficiently because that was the whole deal was they kept, the Caitlin Clark fans were like, oh, we're comparing, Ben Wallace to Michael Jordan. This is dumb. Well, if she's going to be putting up 24 points and she's going to be shooting the way she's been shooting, she had 24, 17, 18 in the last 3 games, that's a different player. That's a more complete player. We're trying to make a rivalry. That's what she's going to have to do to make it interesting.
Still a little unnatural to me because the positions are just so different.
It will be.
It's kind of like comparing Steph Curry to are there any more power forwards left in the NBA?
Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah, no.
Giannis?
Yes, that's a good way to compare. Giannis can score a lot of points, but his game, you couldn't ever say a Curry-Giannis rivalry. It wouldn't make any sense.
We say that, but again, like I saw LeBron and Steph be pitted against each other every year in the conversation about who's the best player now.
But LeBron handles the ball. At least you're closer.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's not like you had an Isaiah Thomas versus David Robinson argument. That would have been like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, but there's enough animosity now. I think that it's transcended positions. Sometimes I think even if the positional thing doesn't make sense, which I actually do agree with, I think that it doesn't matter because now the fans who decide a lot of this, they've decided that they're rivals. It's not up to them anymore.
I think that fan-decided rivalry does not have the substance of an actual basketball rivalry, and I think that's why it won't last. I think there's going to be a different rival. I think Angel will have a different rival by the time it's all said and done, and Caleb, but that's just my opinion. All right, thank you, Andrew Bogusch. I want to take a quick left turn at the end of the show because there is a college football ranking that I don't understand at all, and it apparently, according to you guys, means everything. But to me, it's craziness. That's next. Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. Okay, going to update you on some of the polls for today's show. EJ is sitting in for Maggie's on vacation. Which is the best team out of this group? These are the teams that Michael Jordan beat. The 93 Suns, the 96 Sonics, the 97-98 Jazz, or the 91 Lakers. That's a W for Perloff. 97-98 Jazz leading 36% to the Suns, 32%. Okay, let's go down the list. Mount Olympus, Denver. Maggie had Patrick Roy, Joe Sakic, John Elway, and Von Miller. I had John Elway, Nikola Jokic, Joe Sakic, and Terrell Davis. That's a W for Perloff, 83% to 17%. Let's keep going down the list. Which team is more relevant going into the 25-26 NBA season? Perloff said Houston Rockets. EJ said Los Angeles Clippers. That's an 85% Houston Rockets. I will give you, EJ, you were using relevant in terms a little bit different. I'd say more like buzzworthy. Because obviously the Rockets are super buzzworthy, moved up to number 2 in the odds. I think everyone's talking about the Rockets. I think you got caught up a little bit in your own, not distaste, but you don't trust Kevin Durant to do anything.
No, because Houston history has told me that I shouldn't. Like, we've seen now recent seasons of Kevin Durant. Like, I don't know who people think Houston is getting. They're not getting the Kevin Durant that the Warriors got. You're getting a much older player who can still put up 27, 28 points a game, who is still really efficient.
Yeah.
But it's different when you're doing it on a losing team. And we haven't seen him impact winning in a major way. So people are running to I guess, be really excited about this Rockets team. I don't know why. Like, the Rockets are deep. They're young, but they need a star, a guy who to carry them, and they're asking a 37-year-old dude who hasn't won anything in years to do that. That, to me, is not relevance towards a title.
Yeah,
the relevance towards maybe winning another playoff round, maybe making a deeper run, sure. But when we were comparing them to the Clippers, who just re-signed James Harden,
they feel to me the Clippers feel irrelevant.
But to me, if they matched up in a series, I would be scared to death to pick the Rockets in that series. I think you.
Well, that's probably an age thing. I mean, but the thing is, the Rockets feel. I know they have Kevin Durant who's old, but they still have a lot of young guys. Where the Clippers don't have any of that young future.
No, but they're not thinking about the future. Yeah. They're about a win now team, and they may not win now. That seems like that's going to likely be their reality. But my thing was just looking at the Western Conference. I think the Clippers are still just as dangerous as the Rockets are at this point.
I don't know. I'm kind of more with the Vegas side. So one thing about the Rockets just getting Jalen Green out of the building and not facing that contract situation, good thing. Dylan Brooks, I mean, come on, you're talking about KD's chemistry. I can't imagine what it's like to be in a locker with Dylan Brooks. And then they got rid of the number 10 pick in this year's draft. Listen, they have way too many young draft picks anyway. I don't think that hurts them in any way possible. Houston's, they have to pay a ton of young guys still, even without Jalen Green there. So I like that deal. Okay, college football, real quick. You guys were telling me, you and Manny, yesterday that EA Sports put out an overall college football ranking by team. I was very surprised by who was number one. EJ?
Yeah, so they did this ranking, and they ranked the teams just like the top 25 would, but they do it based on player rankings that they've ranked individually.
So they are. It's not really a team ranking. It's an accumulation of individuals.
Yes, but then they use that to then rank the teams. And the number one team in all of the land was the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Of course, that they're probably going to come in on the AP preseason poll at 7, 8, or 9, I think. I mean, everyone's talking about Ohio State because they have Jeremiah Smith still. Everyone's talking about Texas because they have Arch Manning. I think Clemson's a super hot team. I'd be surprised. And Georgia has some guys coming back. I'd be surprised if Alabama broke into that top 5. Am I underestimating the Tide?
You might be, because Alabama still has recruited extremely well.
Yeah.
They've still been able to get guys in the portal. And we talk about, as great as Jeremiah Smith is, Ryan Williams for Alabama is also a megastar at wide receiver.
Yeah, but who's the quarterback?
Who's the quarterback for Ohio State? It's the same question.
Julian
Saban
probably, but
I know we keep saying Texas, and we think Arch Manning is going to be great, but he still has to play. And Steve Spurrier, interestingly enough, was kind of throwing shots at Texas, being like, you guys keep telling us how great Arch Manning is, but why the hell did you keep playing Quinn Ewers so much?
I mean, honestly,
it's a good question. I mean, they may have their reasons, but if Arch Manning was so great, why did Quinn Ewers play over him?
Real quick, because we're running out of time, ESPN did a post-spring ranking. They had Penn State number 1, obviously with Drew Aller and those 2 running backs, easy. I think they're number 2 in the betting odds. Then Clemson, Texas, number 3, Georgia, Ohio State 5. See, Ohio State 5 is funny to me. Feel like they're going to see 1 or 2 a lot this year. LSU 6, who forgot about them. Notre Dame 7, Oregon 8, and then Alabama coming in at 9. I'm curious if South Carolina will move up on this list. But anyway, there's a lot of talent. It feels like people don't trust Kellen DeBoer. That's what I'm kind of getting when you look at the rankings.
And that's fair, but I do think that things usually get better for coaches as they get more of their players in and as their players get more accustomed to their system. Alabama had some big issues last year. They had some terrible losses. Obviously, the one to Oklahoma was a death knell for them in terms of trying to make the college football playoff. You would hope that in year 2, they're a lot more accustomed to the system. You get a quarterback in there who, as great as Milroe is, maybe he's a better fit for what Kalen DeBoer wants to do.
Okay. EJ, I want you to watch some video of the 1998 Jazz tonight. You'll be back tomorrow. All right. Thanks to Andrew Scarpacci, Romy, Nick, the intern, Andrew Bogusch, Manny Rodriguez, EJ Stewart sitting in for Maggie. Big Mount Olympus tomorrow. Minnesota. It's going to be hard.